Yes, y'all. It's Saturday night, so you know we live with another Saturday night Shoot the Breeze. I want to thank everyone who will be here tonight. I don't think anyone's here right now, but everyone who will be here tonight on the panel in the chat, please come one, come all. Anyone, any Black equals African person can join the panel. And you guys make the chat lively. Let's bounce our thoughts and opinions off of one another so that we can have a lively discussion. Still showing me no one's here. Let me see if I could quickly go to YouTube and find my own self. Again, if you're out there hearing my voice, please drop a 1. Let me know that you can hear my voice. Anyway, in the meantime, because my computer is doing that lagging thing right now in the back. So what we'll do is I'll just let you guys know what it is we have in store for you tonight. Oh, okay, so Dorico Cooper is out there. Peace to you, brother, and thanks for your recent donations as well. You guys can also donate. Hit the link pinned to the top of the chat. Dorico Cooper says 1, so he's letting me know that he can hear me. Thank you very much for that. What I'm going to do now is just let you guys in on what we're going to discuss tonight. We're going to discuss Jesse Lee Peterson. Something he said among some white folks, of course. Is he brainwashed or is his statistics verifiable? We're going to look at a scenario of why limit your financial opportunities. We're going to look at a post. This is an interesting one. It says 1 million views and an AI voice and AI art. How did they do this? And that's an interesting question. You see a lot of people are monetizing these AI voices with the AI videos and images. And the question is, how do they do this? We're going to try to answer the question. If you still think what's happening in Palestine doesn't matter to Africans. And lastly, we're going to answer the question, is there any more evidence needed to prove that the FBA ADOS groups are a PSYOP? So that's what we have in store for you guys tonight. Peace to Dorico Cooper, who's out there. Peace to Oni, who's out there as well. What I'm going to do now is start the show officially. And on the other side of the intro, I will introduce my panelists, as well as drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. So please stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Once again, make sure you guys are tuned in to the other shows on KWAZ Radio. That would include the Brother Bakari podcast, the Forecast Radio, Consider It Cheek / Rum in the Bush. And don't forget to support the matron in her endeavors. Make sure to hit her Cash App up. Make sure to listen to her episodes and hit the like button for all of them all the time. With that said, let me welcome in my first and only panelist tonight. That'll be Oni from the Pro-Black Perspective. How are you this week, Oni?
Cool. Just happy to be here.
I appreciate you taking the time so early in the morning where you are at to be here with us. I appreciate that a bunch. Make sure you guys subscribe to Oni's channel. Make sure to subscribe to him on Twitter as well, the Pro-Black Perspective. Actually, you can find him at Oni Tase on Twitter. So check him out. Check out his recent book. In fact, all of his books on Amazon as well. Without further ado, look like we're gonna have a kind of a light panel tonight. That's fine. We're gonna go to Shooter Breeze topic number one. Shooter Breeze topic number one says, "Is he brainwashed, or are his statistics verifiable?" This takes us to a link, which takes us to Instagram. And on Instagram, we got a black fella named Jesse Lee Peterson here. We're going to listen to his video twice, and then we will discuss it.
White people, they do it right.
You think so?
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah,
do you think
everything.
that whites do it right? You know, there's a report that says that white people are becoming the minority in America.
Mm.
And I tremble at that idea, because once whites are gone, America will be nothing but hell.
Really?
Because white people are more innovative and creative, and you know, they just want a first class life. So they get educated.
Do you think that's an innate quality of whites?
Yes,
You do.
I do.
Okay.
Because look what happens when the colored people take over. It turned into pure hell. You can't name one city, one state, one that's controlled by the blacks, and you want to go live there. That's why I like white people. They do it right.
You think so?
Yeah,
Oh,
tell
yeah.
us.
Yeah,
Do
tell
you
us
think
everything.
that whites do it right?
You know, there's a report that says that white people are becoming the minority in America.
Mm.
And I tremble at that idea, because once whites are gone, America will be nothing but hell.
Really?
Mm.
Because white people are more innovative and creative, and you know, they just want a first class life. So they get educated.
Do you think that's an innate quality of whites?
Yes,
You do.
I do.
Okay.
Because look what happens when the colored people take over. It turned into pure hell. You can't name one city, one state, one that's controlled by the blacks, and you want to go live there.
Oh, boy, this guy here. Exhausting. Let me just read a couple of the comments under this reel, because I always find it interesting when you read the comments. You know, you get that open white nationalism, and I sometimes like to read it because it really kind of solidifies my stance on a lot of things. So we have here, this one person says, "All facts. A good friend of mine is from Congo. I asked him, why is it such a problem? He said to me, because the white man doesn't run the country. Yes, whites are not perfect by any means, but certain aspects in life, they are for sure needed, just like blacks also." Well, I wonder what aspects of life it would be that it would be, for blacks to be needed for. Someone said the devil real busy these days. Look like a white guy, so that's very interesting. Someone mentioned Atlanta. I guess they're saying Atlanta is poorly run because black folks, etc. In the chat, I see provide triggers for evolution says greetings to all. So greetings to you, sister. Thanks for being here once again. The Rico Cooper is out there. He said this dude is talking crazy. Black Steel in the chat said, "Oh no." And Daily Affirmation by Pauline also says good evening. So good evening to all of you. Thanks for attending. Speaking of Black Steel, let's hear what Black Steel has to say about this. What say you, Black Steel?
Man, I almost threw up, man. Good. I almost threw up. I hate Jesse Lee Peterson, man. I mean, he's a coon, right? You know, he's not new to this. He's true to this. This is somebody who has expressed multiple times his hatred of black people, of African people. Nothing he said is verifiable. Everything he's talking about oh, these cities fall apart. Let's do a little history lesson, shall we? Let's go back to the history of white people. And how innovative have white people been? Well, white people have really been innovative in their ability to inflict organized violence on everybody else, including themselves. So we look at Europe prior to, you know, the Middle Ages. All their technology came from everywhere else. The Arabs, they got their gunpowder from the Chinese. You know, they got their seasonings and everything else from India. None of the great inventions that Europeans invented, they didn't invent that shit. They got it from other people around the world. And then once they got those inventions, what did they do? They went overseas to murder millions of Native Americans, enslaved millions of Africans, every populated landmass, they committed genocide. So then now, you know, hundreds of years later, you got the descendants of those people who were enslaved bragging about how innovative white people are and how everything goes to hell when white people aren't in control. I don't know if you looked out the window lately, but the world is under control. With you know, we talk about Pan-Africanism all the time. The world is currently under Pan-Europeanism right now. And what is the state of the world as we speak right now? The global ecosystem is collapsing. We're on the verge of nuclear war in multiple places, multiple genocides across the world. What the fuck is he talking about? But I guess there are some black people who just hate being black. They hate their connection to being of Africa, and they only see the very worst about themselves. They're going to regurgitate and they're going to speak this nonsense continuously because they hate themselves. Jesse Lee Peterson is an uneducated man, and these white people keep bringing him on their podcasts and their YouTube videos because he just, regurgitates their bullshit. But they don't look racist when they say, oh, because look, it's a black man saying it. It can't be racist. And that's the very purpose that he serves with that. So he all he does is just exists to, say white people's garbage to get them, to absolve them of their mess. I'll let it go. My dog is about to go crazy.
All right. Peace to you and the dog. Let's welcome in our boy Buana. Buana, how are you this week?
Hey, Koku. I'm good, brother. My Koku BPL shut off my light. That's why I'm late. So I'm on Wi-Fi right now. So if I'm in and out, you know what it is. All right, just to let you know.
Right.
What am I? I'm good though. I'm good. I was watching this video. Are y'all talking about Jesse Lee Peterson or something?
Yeah. It's Jesse Lee's comments within the video. Yeah. Did
okay. I didn't catch. No, I just caught the tail end of it. So you could go past me for this one, okay?
Well, the video is short, so what I'll do is I'll play it again one more time, so you can get an idea.
That's why I like white people. They do it right.
You think so?
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah,
do you think that whites do it right?
There's a report that says that white people are becoming the minority in America.
Mm.
And I tremble at that idea because once whites are gone, America will be nothing but hell.
Really?
Because white people are more innovative and creative and they just want a first class life. So they get educated.
Do you think that's an innate quality of whites?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Because look what happens when the colored people take over. It turned into pure hell. You can't name one city, one state, one that's controlled by the blacks, and you want to go live there.
All right, Bueno. So there you have it. What are your thoughts on?
Jesse. I with Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse Lee Peterson for me has been a puzzle. Okay, because I don't know whether Jesse Lee Peterson is sincere in terms of the things that he says, or he says these things because he understands to stroke the white man's ego and to tell him he is supreme. I'll be able to enrich myself, even from people who wouldn't necessarily even give me money. So Jesse Lee Peterson, with some of the wild comments that he makes, him and Candace Owens as well, by the way. But I think that Candace Owens knows what she is doing, but I don't know whether I think he might be as crazy as a fox, because he understands if I say these things and if I appeal to these people's ego and tell all these people that the white man ice is colder, they will give me benefits from it. Even the most racist white supremacists will be inclined to enrich me because I say these kinds of things. Because he is from the South, I think he was saying that he was raised on a plantation. You can't be a black man in America growing up in the South and would have experienced the things that he would have experienced and come out the way that, having this twisted view of the world that he has. Maybe there are people who think like this, because there are people who think like this, like the black man, the white man ISIS called it. They just never really express it. And he's just the type of character who he verbalizes the things that many black people think and believe. So they'll look to him and say, well, he is the bad guy. When in fact, many people we know think like exactly like him or even worse, where they think in their minds that the white man ice is colder. But I really, from time to time, I believe, because I watch some of his programs, and what Jesse Lee Peterson does is he invites on people, very intelligent people, black people, by the way, who is able to defeat a lot of racist arguments. And yes, the majority of his audience is going to take a dim view, a negative view of what some of his guests say, but they hate watch him. They would hate watch his guests, but he puts himself on the side of the antagonist. And I don't know whether he is doing that intentionally or he was doing that just really to kind of like placate a lot of his audience. Throwing them the red meat that they want, but still he gives a space for a lot of revolutionary thought. He had Dr. Umar Johnson on his platform. He had many thinking people, or black thinking people on his platform. And I'm thinking that message should still get out there to the most racist minded and the white person. So and really he is inviting these people on his show to do these kinds of things. So I really am confused on where he stands politically in his mind, because he could just be as crazy as a fox in the things that he does. So I don't know if it's intentional or it's unintentional in him doing the things that he does, but for me he is just a question in my mind. So I kind of, like I say, I use him as a person to say, well, he's Uncle Tom, whatever. But the reality is, when you break this man down to his core, he is getting the most racist white people in America to enrich himself, to enrich him. I don't know, man. He just a question in my mind. So I would just leave it there, Koku.
I appreciate that, Buana. In the chat, we got Azuliism out there. Derico Cooper Photography says the Congo is a police state because there's $24 trillion and no functional government. The military don't even have magazines inserted in their rifles. Police getting stoned for stealing chickens out of people's yard because they're not getting paid. We got KW7 out there saying JLP, Jesse Lee Peterson, is pandering for a paycheck. He goes on to say, wasn't Jesse Lee Peterson exposed by the same Urugu for being LGBTQ, etc.? Yeah, he was, actually. And Brother Bakari is out there saying peace and Black Power family. With that said, let's hear from Oni. Oni, what say you to this?
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't even think it's Jesse Lee Peterson playing the white boys. I think the white boys are playing Jesse Lee Peterson. Cause who is this guy? What has he done that's so notable that countless people are interviewing him? Or what is he doing that makes him so viral or so worth interviewing that uh, he's on all these platforms, discussing what he's discussing? And why is it that he's only discussing this topic? Right? White people are using him. They found their cash cow. A lot of us, we might say, "Oh no, Jesse Lee Peterson got his cash cow," right? But white folk also like the thing that we tend to, because it's like if you assume white folk already have money, like all white folk already have money, well, all white folk, no white folk need to come up themselves, then you might be like, well, this black person is using this white person, right? Kind of like if you look at these black artists, right? A lot of times the music promoter is it's some white person who might have a little bit of bread, right? But they can now use black people to flip that bread, right? Think about the sports, the sports managers, right? You could before you have a sport, like even if you have money before you have a sports team, you're not buying a sports team to enrich a bunch of black folk. You're buying a sports team to enrich yourself. You're trying to flip your money, right? And it's the same with this Jesse Lee Peterson. Sure, like in essence, and I'm not saying he's an athlete, right? But in essence, he's one of those athletes who can be turned into a cash cow, right? Because I'm listening to this lecture and I'm just like, I don't understand why we're listening to Jesse Lee Peterson. But you see, this white boy gets you to listen to, generally you. This white boy gets us to listen to Jesse Lee Peterson. And he gets us to listen to him praise white folk. And he sits there and he acts like, yo, this guy is a little more radical than I am. But listen to what he's saying. He's making coherent arguments on my behalf, right? And I don't even gotta say them. And now what I'm trying to do, which is I'm trying to recruit white folk into thinking, along the lines of this, like destroying and killing black folk on the streets. Okay, I'm trying to get white folk to thinking, about white power and white pride, and that's worth the little pennies I'm giving Jesse. There's a lot of white folk who are on the fence about white nationalism, who don't want to talk about white nationalism, very discouraged, But there's a large investment of white folk trying to get people into that field, whether it's because, they can get, Donald Trump reelected, whether it's because they can get the Republicans reelected, right? For a long, long time, there was a website called Stormfront, and that was shut down. There was this, there was so on and so forth. There was this huge element of people we call white supremacists. Well, I don't call them, but you know what I'm saying. There's a huge element of people who have an agenda for turning white people, like basically recruiting white people for the Klan. And it's very underground. It's very difficult to do openly. But here you got this black guy, okay, who doesn't understand, or who's willing to sell his people for a dollar, sell his people down the river, sell his people down for $1, and he makes that recruitment that much easier. Because his last argument of, because even like the question, whoever's asking the question, is he brainwashed or are his statistics verifiable? White folk are not even sitting around thinking, is he brainwashed? They don't give a shit. What they're saying is, that's a good argument for white power. That's a good reason to get out and kill a black person. That's a very good reason to, shoot N-words. And a lot of white folk are really, really focusing on, really, really trying to move their lives into that direction. So, I don't think he's playing anybody. I don't think he's brainwashed or nothing. I think white folk, I think he's giving white folk easy money. He's giving white folk easy money for, whatever it is that he gets, YouTube dollars or an appearance. Whatever little thing he gets, he's doing it. And I think somebody brought up Candace Owens. I'll probably end with this. Candace Owens was being recruited by some page, I think it's like Daily Beast or something like that. She started not saying, good things about Israel, and they dropped her off, and she was all of a sudden on had a muzzle on her. That's what these people do. They say, can you fit my political agenda? If you don't, get the fuck out. If you do, good. Here's a few pennies. But otherwise, you are my mouthpiece to make my political ambitions that much easier. And unfortunate for this gentleman, the political ambitions of these white folk is to kill. It's like a lot of these white folks. If you really look into them, the political ambition is to kill black folk. And that's it.
Yeah, my take on Jesse Lee is exactly your take, Oni. I first came to know about him, I want to say, from something Tariq Nasheed did. And Tariq Nasheed's take on Jesse Lee is that, he's finessing these white folks. And I'm like, how? How could he be finessing white folks when you're pushing their agenda? At the hurting of your own people. But yeah, I view guys like him, black folks in general like this, I view them as people who they get the fence sitting white folks to cross over and join the crew. Man, even this black guy is saying these black people ain't shit. So why do I think any differently? Go ahead, Warner.
No, I think that Jesse Lee Peterson is telling white folks exactly what they believe before he was to ever say it. He is just verbalizing it. He's a black-faced person verbalizing it. And Jesse Lee Peterson is a presentation of a greater problem. Because before Jesse Lee Peterson was espousing the ideas that he had, there are many non-white people who actually believe the things that he is verbalizing. Not only white folks. He is just making a profit out of it by stroking the egos of white folks. But there are many non-white people who have the beliefs and ideas that he has. And the problem is, let's deal with the content. Jesse Lee Peterson in this content, this dialogue, and this particular prompt said that the comforts that he enjoys right now, it was solely because of the white man experience. Without that experience, without them being involved, without them having a say so, if you take away their influence, then the society would then denigrate into a Mad Max situation, just out of chaos. There are many people who believe these things. Many people, non-white people, who actually believe these things. Without the white man, America, not only America, let's scratch that. The Western world believes that the West, as it currently exists right now, was solely due to the ingenuity and the innovativeness of the white man. That is not true history. The fact that Westerners decide to ignore, without the inclusion of all these non-white people, you would not have the comforts that you currently enjoy in the Western world without these people as well. That is not in history books. For instance, when the brothers talk about Black history and all the innovators and all the stoplights and refrigerators, and like you could go on and on, that's just one element of people who improved the comforts of the Western world. Then you have the Chinese who brought their own thing to the Western world. And then you have the Mexicans. All these people are inclusive. Without these people, then the world, in this part of the world, will look like a third world country. It will look like a third world country. It's because of the inclusion, the allowed inclusion of all these people. All these people is because of the comforts that you currently enjoy. Now, the typical white boy from Arizona, he doesn't believe these things. He never was taught these things in his history class. Matter of fact, most Westerners wasn't. They have these ideas prior to Jesse Lee Peterson ever even making these kinds of statements. They say, without we settled the West. They would make these kinds of ideas. Without us, there would be no Western society or civilization. They have these ideas in their mind prior to Jesse Lee Peterson regurgitating these things. They're going to believe what they won't believe anyways. He has just verbalized it, and I feel like he is making a profit because of it. Now, if people don't want to believe these things, they would inform themselves. But we know currently, right now, we don't exist in that kind of a society. That's not our reality. We are anti-intellectual culture. That's just what it is. That's what we are in the West. I mean, sorry to say, but I'll leave it, Coco. Sorry for interrupting, brother.
No problem. In the chat, Kofi the Black Critic is out there. He said Jesse is a fraud. He's a conservative gay pastor. Let's welcome in our boy, our brother Bakari this week. Bakari, how are you this week?
I'm good, man. What's going on? How y'all doing? Can you hear me?
Good. Yes, sir. Thanks for coming through.
Peace to y'all. Peace to the chat. Look, I didn't even hear what Jesse Lee Peterson said. But the only thing I can say is I do agree with what Oni said when he said white folks are using. Then I heard Koku piggyback on it when he said white folks are using Jesse Lee Peterson. Because if you think about white people are the greatest race baiters. I used to always say what they said is race baiting. They used to say about black folks. But white people are the greatest race baiters. And they always use black folks to get involved, to push their agenda, to push what they want to be popular. Like, so I'm going to give you an example, right? You know, I use sports to analyze, to compare to life. We can go back to college basketball when everybody was talking about Caitlin Clark. And black folks would get mad because they wasn't talking about Angel Reese. And they wasn't talking about the coach from South Carolina. Lo and behold, black people were so mad when Iowa played LSU. 12 million people tuned into the game. White people always use us to build up their stuff. Yes, of course, Jesse Lee Peterson, he's cooning for capital. But he's not using them. He's actually being used. And I don't see how anyone can say, that sounds like our boy saying Candace Owens using white folk. You know, our William Pound, he say that too. No, they're not. They're being used by white folks to push white people agenda, to do what white people want to be done, to race bait, as they call it, because they are the greatest race baiters. And in the process of them race baiting, they always, like I said, they always get what they want out of that deal from black folks. They race bait, black folks argue, and black folks forget about black folks. We'll forget about black things. We'll forget about black things to support white folks. White folks have the uncanny ability that when they do race bait, to make black people extremely loyal to one white person or another. Because now all does it take is what the woman, that old white wench name, who did the Brown Eye, Blue Eye project. So then all of a sudden she has become some black people hero. Jane Elliott, that's the old white wench name, Jane Elliott. So then look how black people gravitate to her. A lot of black people gravitate to her. Man, all that is a plan. All that is a scheme, is a scam, and we are the ones constantly being played. And you know, I'm to a point sometimes where I think black people enjoy being played. It sounds crazy, but it's like we enjoy being scammed. It's like we enjoy being hustled, because if we are not scammed and hustled, we don't have nothing to complain about. So, but that's something that's something different. I ain't even go down that road right now. But yeah, they're using Jesse Lee Peterson because we'll always be in this game, in this race game, for the most part, black people, we are always being used, and we constantly fall for it. We fall for it over and over and over. You know, you can go back even with Cat Williams with the conspiratorial thing on Shannon Sharp. That was, if you look and see what he did, that's what he did. Who did he crap on? He crapped on a whole lot of black people. Oh, and that's so true. Now, if he had been white, black folk would have been mad, been so true, and white folks won't let him in, blase, blase, and he blamed black people. But since that, bam, now he got him 2 Netflix specials. Since then, they both suck. But since then, and once again, who was being used? It was black folks being used because we, as a group of people, we are extremely naive and gullible. We don't think. A lot of the time, we don't think of the pressure. We don't listen. I tell people, listening is an art. We don't listen to the whole thing, but that is something completely different too. I ain't going down that rabbit hole right now. But yes, I agree with her on it. And then when Koku piggybacked on it, yes, Jesse Lee Peterson is being used. On that, I get the mic.
I appreciate that, Bakari. Well stated stuff. Does anyone want to comment to anything they heard or read?
I want to comment because I disagree with them statements. Yeah, well, some of them, because yes, black people like to be gone. Yes, they like. For instance, no, I even go good in for instance. Jesse Lee Peterson is also cornering white folks as well into telling these people that they are supreme, that they have done, they could do no wrong, that they are perfect. It's almost like it's almost like going on a racing track and telling the white boy he is the greatest when he about to run against Usain Bolt. The facts may not bear it out. But we won't have this belief just to have this belief. And if I give you $50,000, I'll pay for you to stroke my ego, even though the facts don't bear it out, because I want to feel good. And he is going in a campaign and telling white folks that they are the greatest thing since sliced bread when the facts don't bear these things out. It's not the reality of the world. But he would tell them that for money because it makes them feel good too. They are getting conned as well. It's a false sense of, for me, it's a false belief that to think that why you think they're the best? Why? Well, he is getting them to believe that they're the best solely on just by telling them they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Solely just by saying that. And then he point to some thing out of context and say, well, this is why you are the greatest. And this is why they put him on platforms, because he is making them feel good, even though the facts don't bear it out.
I don't mean to cut you off. Can I say something right quick? I don't mean to cut you off. But before you continue with that, check this out. They don't have to listen to Jesse Lee Peterson to tell them they're great. All they have to do is listen to 90% of social media with a lot of these so-called pro-black people, pro-black Pan-Africans, and they can hear those people talk about how great they are. They don't have to pay Jesse Lee Peterson for a black man to tell them they're great. Black people always brag on white people greatness. All the time.
I hear what you said.
Black people always tell them that they are supreme. They're the white supremies. That's why I tell people it's certain words I don't use. So they don't have to pay Jesse Lee Peterson $50,000 to tell us we're supreme. I can turn on Dr. Umar and he will tell you black women won't take care of a black man if he ain't already rich, but a white woman will. A white woman will look out for him. I can turn on. I can turn on the guy. That's why I can turn on Tariq Nasheed, and I can just always hear him talk about Supreme. I can go listen to a Neely Fuller Jr. book, and he gonna always tell us how great we are. We don't have to give them nothing. They don't have to pay Jesse Lee Peterson to hear a black man say they're great. All they have to do is open their ears and listen. And
I know I ain't mean to cut you off. No, that's cool. No, I think that the reason why Jesse Lee Peterson's audience is not for us. I think that his audience is meant specifically white folks. Umar Johnson, even though he has that kind of platform, like as you were describing just now, his audience is confirmation bias for people who internally believe these ideas anyways. non-colored, non-white folks who believe these ideas anyways. And this is some of the reasons why I believe that they have such large platforms, because he is a confirmation bias, calling us Negroes and coons and all manner of things. If you don't go along with his form of program, if you don't go along with what he says, you are automatically this. You know, he for me, for me, he is just, these people are, well, I ain't gonna get into that. I ain't gonna resort to bashing. I'm just saying that the reason why I believe that Jesse Lee Peterson has the audience that he has is specifically designed for white folks. That's his audience. Omar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed, those audiences are for another group of people. But even though it's the same confirmation biases for people who still believe these ideas anyways. That's why I believe that they're so popular from time to time. But these are my opinions about the world, and I could be very wrong.
But Juana, you are correct. You are correct. I can agree. You are correct. They have different type of audience. So even with that different type of audience, pro-black. Say that again.
No, I couldn't hear anything for a while. Was it just me or?
No, it's me too. Go ahead. Say it again, Bakari. Say it again.
I say, why pay Jesse Lee Peterson anything when I can turn on these into supposedly strong black people that's really pro-black? Don't have to give them a dime and hear them talk about, well, you know, white people won't do this. See, black people do this. They don't have to listen to no one else. They don't have to pay anyone. Once again, they don't have to pay anybody to hear black people talk about the greatness of white people. They don't have to hear anyone talk about what the white people have done, us being civilized. I'm not civilized. I don't mind saying that, because being civilized means, according to them in this society, you do everything white folks do, right? That's what civilized is over here, right? So that's all. They don't have to pay anyone for that. They don't have to. Jesse Lee ain't using them. They are paying Jesse Lee so they can use him. Like when they get tired of using him, like they got tired of using Candace Owens, they gonna throw you away. Because everything Jesse Lee Peterson is saying, you can turn on the pro-black so-called people that consider themselves pro-black and can hear the same things come out of their mouth about white people.
Some of them, some of the same thing. You know what, brother Bakari? You have a point. You have a point, brother. The only thing I forget my point, because you have a point with the things that you are saying. You hear some of the things in black circles. However, there's a distinction though, that I don't think that the so-called, well, I don't think that the Pan-Africans would go as far in saying some of the things that Jesse Lee Peterson says, like, thank God for slavery, even though that slavery was a rough time. He brought us here to America. I have never heard Pan-Africans speak like that. So that, to me, he is the extreme version at the extreme end. I've not heard Pan-Africans speak like that. You know what I mean? But some of the things, you know, like I say, you do have a point in what you're saying. You could cut on any one of these, some of these pro-black panels, and they talk around the same kinds of ideas. Not completely, you know, but I think that some of the things that we say from time to time, it's Jesse Lee Peterson-esque. You know, and even if I was to indict myself, because some of the things that I agree with, some of the things that Jesse Lee Peterson says when he talks about hard work, I can't get around that. I believe in hard work. But see, he's saying it in the context of mean that black people don't work hard as well. You know what I mean? I was like, why would you suggest and think that black folks wouldn't work hard? Because I believe hard work, eventually you're able to reap some rewards and results. Do I sound like Jesse Lee Peterson in saying that? Maybe. But I think that the context is different, because I mean it completely different from how he's saying it. You know, so I don't know. But I think that you do have a point in saying what you say, because you could cut on the television, you could cut on a lot of these streams, and you could hear the same kind of rhetoric and dialogue. So why would they have to pay him? But I would ask you a question. Considering Jesse Lee Peterson, listening to him as a man, would he be able to garner the amount of wealth that he has been able to garner without saying the things that he would have said. I don't think that he have. I don't know. I don't know if he have the skills to be able to. I think Jesse Lee is like a millionaire by now, so I don't think that he would be able to be a millionaire by now without doing and saying the things that he is actually saying. I don't know. I don't know, man. But I'll leave it to be short, man.
You know what
Well,
he might not be.
I'm
I'm sorry, Black Steel. Go ahead, my man. What's going on? My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
how you doing? No. The thing is, like you say, his audience. Jesse Lee Peterson exists to be that black dude that says what white people want him to say, right? So that way he basically acts as a shield to their racism. So they can say, I'm not racist. Look what this black guy is saying. And he's black, just like whenever there's a police shooting, right? And it's a black police officer involved. It's not racist because it's a black cop who did the shooting, right? So that's kind of that's the role that people like this serve. Jesse Lee Peterson is too much of a coon to have any type of real standing in the black community. The Jesse Lee Petersons, the Candace Owens, what's the one black Republican, Tim Scott. These people, we can see them coming a mile away. So they don't really serve any purpose but to just repeat what white people say for us. So the ones we really got to worry about are the ones that sneak under the radar, right? Those are the ones that are really harmful to black people. Jesse Lee Peterson, he's like you can see him coming. So you're not really concerned about it. He didn't speak to us. Everybody looks at him and say, what's this dude talking about? And the thing is, he didn't list any facts. He didn't list any stats. The only thing he said was that white people are projected to be a minority in the future. Okay. So that doesn't have any bearing to do with the state of the country. Oh, if white people go away, shit's going to fall apart. Shit's already falling apart. I don't know where he's talking about. When when almost 70% of people in this country can't come up with $500 in an emergency. What's he talking about? What is he really referring to? He doesn't know, but he just says, and you see the white man just nodding his head like he said, like he's saying something deep. He's not saying anything deep. All he's doing is just, speaking to your ego, making you feel like, well, maybe white people, maybe we're not so bad. We really did bring civilization. And if we stop the whole world to fall apart, Jesse Lee Peterson is an obvious plant. Whether he's being played by the white people or the white people playing him, I think it doesn't really matter in the end. I think that we know who he is. We know we see him coming. And people who say the things he say, they don't have any standing in our community. I'll leave it there.
And let me say this right quick before I get off, because I'm out and about and I'm gonna listen offline for a second. Well, I agree. They shouldn't have no standing. They shouldn't have no standing in our community. But in all honesty, and I just go back to what I said before. Jesse Lee Peterson said a lot of things about black people that a lot of people that say they pro-black say. And I'm going to say this is part of the reason I always say, and I know people don't like when I say, because I don't believe in white supremacy. White supremacy is a belief. But I also believe that there's power in words. Like, I believe black people have internalized that white people are supreme. That's why they say it so much. That's why it's always talked about so much. It's belief. They believe they are greater and should be in charge. So, and I'm going to show you what I mean when I say black people have internalized it. If you look up their definition say it's a belief. So if it's a belief, that means I don't have to believe it. And when I say I don't believe it, black people will give me a 30-minute lecture on why I should believe it. And I just say, I don't believe it. So a lot of things that he say, a lot of black folks say, but I think we just need to be careful of words that we use. We need to be careful of always putting other people on a pedestal, even to the point, because like I said, I didn't listen to the thing, but I heard Black Steel say, he said, white people coming to minority. Booyah. That's most definitely a pro-black statement there on social media. See, they becoming the minority. They ain't even having babies. When I tell people, if you look up the numbers, white people are having They average 1.25 children. In black families today is averaging 1.5. So who are they becoming a minority to? They are not becoming a minority to black people. So now black people is grouping themselves with Asians and East Indians and Arabs and everybody else, so they can say white people. That's I didn't even know Jesse Lee Peterson said that. That's most definitely the pro-black social media pro-black stance. White people is becoming a minority. So they say a lot of the same thing. They say a lot of the same stuff. That's why I say I think that. But like you said, Black Steel, it doesn't make a difference because he don't have a standing in our community. People like Candace Owens, they shouldn't have no standing in our community. But on that note, man, I'm gonna listen offline for a minute because I'm out and about. I'll be back in a little while. Thank you for letting me speak, and peace to everybody.
No, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you. If there's no last thoughts on this prompt, let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2. Shooter Breeze topic number 2 says, why limit your financial opportunities? This came with a link that's taking us to YouTube again. It's taking us to a YouTube short. I'll play it a couple of times, make sure we get the message, and then we'll discuss it.
Not the draw of why I left. I was paid very, very well. I was promoted almost every 2 years. I was one of the youngest senior vice presidents and probably one of the few melanated ones. But I had a bigger calling to do something in the motherland. I came to Ghana with a vision to really build something that would be my own rather than work in a corporate structure. A lot of us in the diaspora, we're selling ourselves short. We make it look like Africa is so far and displaced and whatnot. But there's so many foreign people that are here, living here. They're here to stay and they're not going anywhere because the opportunities abound. Everybody's my ecosystem. I've got friends here. They're not from here. Indian, Japanese, Chinese, Turkish. They're earning hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars monthly, not yearly. They have looked at little opportunities and they.
And just if we could be transparent, base and bonus the year you're leaving.
7 figures. My pay and my salary was earning it at the time was crazy to me. It was unbelievable. That was really not the draw of why I left. I was paid very, very well. I was promoted almost every 2 years. I was one of the youngest senior vice presidents and probably one of the few melanated ones. But I had a bigger calling to do something in the motherland. I came to Ghana with a vision to really build something that would be my own rather than work in a corporate structure. A lot of us in the diaspora, we're selling ourselves short. We make it look like Africa is so far and displaced and whatnot. But there's so many foreign people that are here, living here. They're here to stay and they're not going anywhere because the opportunities abound. Everybody's my ecosystem. I've got friends here. They're not from here. Indian, Japanese, Chinese, Turkish. They're earning hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars monthly, not yearly. They have looked at little opportunities and they.
And just if we could be transparent.
All right, I think we were able to get that. Let me just peep what some of the comments are like on this short video on YouTube. Someone named Terry Johnson says, most Americans have preconceived notions about Africa. We spent 3 weeks in Africa and oh my God, Americans, especially Black Americans, are really missing out on something special. It wasn't at all what I thought. We're so brainwashed by media and people in general. Go see and do for yourself because you will be amazed at the culture and the amazing spirit of empowerment. You don't even think about the color of someone's skin. Well, I knew that was coming up based on the seemingly color of this person's avatar. Wow, my people work hard and are the real entrepreneurs. Can't wait to visit again. Someone says we need a travel guide for Ghana. Someone says I'm interested. So a couple of positive comments under this video. Let's hear what the panelists have to say. And I'll be interested to hear what you guys in the chat have to say. Let's be active tonight. Let's not fall off tonight. Let me mix it up a little bit. Let me start with Oni on this one. Oni, what say you?
Yeah, I think we have to come to terms with. I think many of us don't hear this, and I think a lot of us, kind of like how even though we criticize Jesse Lee Peterson, we take for granted that this white boy is giving us jobs. in the West. You know, I never really liked Claude Anderson, but I heard this guy maybe like 15 years ago. You know, before most people have, right? Because back when I was, you know, interested in the quote unquote conscious movement, you know, they were still handing out DVDs and cassettes. No, not DVDs, like CDs and cassettes and stuff, right? Or voice recordings. And so I heard one of his earlier lectures, you know, from way back. And one of the things he would point out was, he was like, you know, 95% of working, you know, working black people work for white folk, you know? And he was talking about, you know, obviously in America, right? But that's, you know, that's one of the big things we don't get. And if you look at other people, they say to themselves, like if you want to be a competitive person in any sort of field, right? You can't be underneath another people. You know, so the Chinese, they, you know, they are now competitive in, let's say, microprocessors, right? They can be competitive microprocessors because at one point their leadership and their people said, let's not depend on these white folk for all of our technological needs. Let's do something for ourselves. And so, you know, the mindset that comes with, you know, repatriation or going to Africa or what have you is, you know, it should be attached to those among us who say, you know what, even though I can live comfortably in America, you know, even though Wazulu can give me a comfortable life, you know, because, you know, we say, you know, or at least, you know, Vaughn says, Jesse Peterson is playing this white boy. But really, you know, because all of us could get a comfortable life with white folk. You know what I mean? We could all go go to our job, you know, play our part, you know, big him up whenever he needs to, you know, stroke his ego, you know, tell him we stupid and, you know, how much whatever. And, you know, collect our paycheck. And that's what most of us do. We collect our paychecks from whitey. You know, even now, like I said, I work an online job. So I start working, you know, I don't always work it. You know what I mean? But when I do, yeah, I'm collecting this white boys, you know, this white boys giving me a little bread, right? My point is, though, that because we do those, I mean, me personally, what I'm also trying to do while I'm, you know, even though I collect a little bread from this white boy, is collect my own bread so I don't got to collect no bread from this white boy. You know, and the reality is that it you know, if you're, you know, even if you're, whether you're Jesse Lee Peterson or not, right? If your life goal is to always serve another man, right? Always to serve a foreign race, you're not really going to be that materially different from Jesse Lee Peterson. You might not say, "Oh yeah, well, you know, white people got, you know, white people make the best jobs. You know, white people make the best, you know, blah blah. White people have the best products, or you know, without provide the best services, right?" But that's going to be the life in your legacy. You know, that's going to be your life and your legacy. So, you know, what I'm trying to do now, I mean, you know, I mean, obviously, I'm trying to write a book that ain't going to go that well, but but what I'm trying to do now is, you know, I'm gonna see if I can open a restaurant, and you know, whether it goes good or bad, I like another restaurant, I know, but whether it goes good or bad, what I want, like at the end of the day, that's what people should do. That's what an entrepreneurial person should do. That is, they should try, and if they fail, try again. Right? That's what we should do, and that's the opportunity you have in Africa. And I'm not saying you don't have the opportunity in America, because of course you do. Except for that, when you do it in America, one, you're in this white boy's legal system, okay, and two, it's going to cost you more. You know what I mean? Now, granted, you can make more, and of course you'll have to make it in this white boy's currency. But what I'm saying is that, you know, realistically, what they're saying is, What they're saying is, yeah, leave the fucking West and try your best, in your homeland where the profit margins could be good, and where things can, things can favor you. But of course, a lot of people are not going to try to hear that, and the reason why is because most of us, most people, are not really trying to be about it. And because most people are not trying to be about it, of course, staying in America where white boy hands you a life, he tells you, here's how you can make a decent life. And it's really indecent, but a lot of us believe this is how you do it. Because we live in the West where the white boy, lays out the thing and just says, just follow my rules, follow my laws, and you'll be all right. Yeah, a lot of people are going to go for that, but that's why I personally I speak towards those who say, well, how can we become a superpower? How can we become a superpower? Because whatever this brother's doing inside of Africa, where he flipped his money, right? That's how Africa can start standing up. Otherwise, you're not going to be China, you're not going to be Russia, you're not going to be wherever. You're going to be, you're going to be basically where you are. And that's it.
Appreciate that, Oni. You made some good points in there too. I really appreciate that. Let's start from Black Steel next. Black Steel, why limit your financial opportunities? What say you about the video?
So, looking at this video, I gotta be honest. People limit their financial opportunities because they don't really have the opportunities that they think they do. Sometimes people lack marketable skills. I'm very much in support of people, taking the initiative, especially when people, go to African people from that diaspora, return home, and to create a service or, make themselves useful to the continent and to further, uplift African people, because we need that. That's something that's important. My only thing is that I really don't like the framing that Africans within the diaspora don't go back to Africa because they don't want to, right? It really, or they're lazy, they don't want to take advantage of the opportunities there. Black people throughout the diaspora are poor, right? It takes time, it takes effort. This man looks to be a businessman. He was already involved in business before he decided to go to Africa. So he was already doing that work, right? It's a different matter for somebody who doesn't have that type of education, that type of energy. That's my only thing. I don't like the finger wagging. I don't like the browbeating. You should do this and you should do that. If you're not doing this, it's your fault. I don't like that. I think that a lot of these African countries, they're trying to entice people to come back because of they're suffering all of the brain drain from losing their best and their brightest to Europe and the United States. And they're trying to, rebuild that base to help create wealth in their countries. I think they got to work on that infrastructure first. But again, I think it's a good idea, but I don't like the finger wagging. To me, it seems as though, the mentality is that, hey, you guys aren't doing this because something's wrong with us. So, I don't like that, because we go through a lot of stuff, just being Black in the society. So I'll leave it there. But again, I think it's a good idea. I just don't like the finger wagging.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. I do appreciate you pointing out the hardships there are for Africans in the West too. I think sometimes in our analysis of it, of repatriation and stuff, we don't include that too, So I do appreciate you bringing that up. With that said, let's go to Buana. Buana, you heard everything everyone else had to say. The chat is kind of quiet. I don't know why, but you heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to it?
No, I think I've heard the both sides. I've heard Oni's perspective as more of on a business person, and I've heard Black Steel's perspective in looking at the society at large itself, looking at the community itself, and understanding that the community may not necessarily be wealthy. So you have to reach people where they are. And I've seen, and I've lived on both fronts as well, by the way. Let me say that too. But what I would say is, for people with certain skills, even a broke man, let me not say a broke man, a man who makes a low wage, hotel worker, construction worker, a nurse, a maid, things like that. Yes, your bills are very high, especially in these Western economies. Yes, yes, they are. But don't let the system solely turn you into a consumer. Because if the system solely turns you into a consumer, then you're gonna go out as a consumer. That's what it is. I mean, if we have the culture, let's say even if a small culture, let me deal with the church. The church says give to the Lord 10%, and most of our mothers and grandmothers ensured that they would at least give to the church 10% of the monies that they were earned, even though they know they had to pay bills and ensure that the family security and make sure the children are eating, etc., etc., etc. They would have made sure to get and give that 10% to the Lord. All of us here as men, yes, if our grannies could do it, we could do it too. But our 10% shouldn't be going to the church. Our 10% and how we invest should go into something a little bit different. Even if we used to just put money to the side, put money, a percentage of money to the side, even if it's 1% of your money, or 2%, or 3% of your money to the side on a consistent basis, and just wait for an opportunity to avail itself, because you might not be able to see it wherever you are in the world. Wherever you are, if you're in a third world country, you wait for an opportunity to come along where you could say, I could put my money here, my little bit of money here, and my little bit of money, I'll calculate to something more so in a month or in a year or in 2 years. If you in a third world country, if you in the Western world, if you in the Americas or Canada, you put your little 10% of your earnings, you put, or a smaller percentage, you put that in one of these Fortune 500 companies that they always running on about in the S&P. You know, they have vehicles right now where you can make limited investments, and there's $100, $50, for some people $20 in a month or in the week. Small amounts of money. You know, not big amounts of money. And at the end of the day, these things have a cumulative value to it after a while. It can't just all be spent on consumer products or services. It can't all be spent to that. Not 100% of your earnings. Not 100% of your earnings. To me, that is a culture that we should at least lighten up on, in terms of how we look at money and how we look at investing and how we look at what we get back, because we're working so hard and not to reap no reward from that at the end of the day to me is savage. It's savage. So I say do it, even if it's a little bit of investment. I wouldn't ask a poor man to invest all his earnings, but 5% of your earnings put into the side and waiting for a good opportunity to present itself, and then putting it into a good opportunity where it can accumulate into something more than it was before. Because the banks are going to cheat you. If you put your banks in a savings account, that's 0.00175. You will never see that interest develop in 7 to 25 years. You know? So I would say that, you know, look for small opportunities that could have present itself for a poor man, for a man without means. A little bit of the monies that you make, but for the businessmen out there, for the people who are in business, big business, people who are making a little bit more money, at the end of the game. I would say, I would say, diversify your investments. Look at opportunities, not only in the country that you exist in, but other places as well. If you could do it, if you could do it, don't limit yourself to just the company, the country that you in. The world is globalized right now, and you have to look around, because if other nations and other peoples of the world going wherever they need to go to get that bread, so should you as well. We are in a competition, and in a competition, it's the winner who gets the spoils. You know what I mean? So if it means me having to go into places that I never ventured into before to try to find good financial opportunities for myself, why not? Why wouldn't I put myself in that advantageous position? Of course I would. Of course I would, if I have the means to do it. So I think it's important for the black man to look at the world at large and find his place and find where he can make good opportunity and reap the rewards of good opportunity, because it's only going to benefit himself and his family later on. But for the small man, I say invest a little at a time. Don't spend 100% of your earnings and giving it to corporations and all these people who they'll sell you something and tell you they can't sell you nothing no more. And then when you finish with that, they move on to the next person. So I say put a little bit to the side and make small investments as you could go until it grows into something significant, and then try to see and if you could find opportunities to put your money in where you can multiply it a little bit. You know what I mean? Don't give it all away to the people who trying to sell you something. That would be my advice to the man who's starting off small. Because just because you start off small, that don't mean you have to stay there forever. But that's my opinions, and I'll leave it there.
I like that. Some solutions for those who have it a little bit better and those who don't have it as well. Okay, I appreciate that, Buana. In the chat, Provide Triggers for Evolution says there is a clip online where Farrakhan shared Black Steel's perspective. Dated several years ago, he noted that the continent should not rely on the diaspora for its development, since 85% of the diaspora lives paycheck to paycheck. Black Steel, do you want to comment to that, or does anyone have any other comments they want to drop before we move to the next topic?
No, I'm good. I think that's it.
All right, that's cool. Well, for time's sake, I guess let's go shoot the breeze. Topic number 3. Thank you, Provide Triggers, for still hanging in there and giving us some comments. Make sure you guys hit the like button, share the show to social media if you don't mind. But if you're here, make sure you comment and have a conversation with us. Shoot the breeze. Topic number 3 says 1 million views, and AI voice and AI art. How they do this? So this came with a link. Hold on, let me tee it up. Forgot to do that. This comes with a link in a little bit, so just bear with me. If not, we'll have to skip the topic if the link doesn't work still. You guys are hearing me, right?
I can hear you just fine, Coco.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. My computer's doing all sorts of stuff now. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
I can hear you too.
Okay. I don't know what's up with my computer right now. It looks like I have the video up now, so I'll share it with you guys. I apologize for all of the sudden issues here. I don't know why that is. Let me share my screen. Okay, so we'll watch the video and then we'll discuss it.
Named Iyabo. In this village, a woman's beauty was defined by how slender her waist was. The slimmer a woman's waist, the more attractive she was considered by the men. When Iyabo was a little girl, she had a normal weight just like every other girl her age. However, as she grew older, she developed an uncontrollable eating habit. There was no portion of food that Iyabo could not finish. She would clear her plate in no time, no matter how much food she was served. It was not long before she became the fattest lady in the entire village of Owo-Oke. As Iyabo gained more and more weight, all the men in the village stopped admiring her or even asking her out on dates. One by one, all her female friends got married, leaving only the fat Iyabo still living in her father's house, growing older with each passing day. Her father, Mr. Shogun, became very worried that his daughter would never find a husband. Iyabo's younger sisters had all gotten married and were living happily with their husbands. Only Iyabo was left behind, still single and unmarried. This weighed heavily on Mr. Shogun's mind. As the caring father that he was, he took it upon himself to look for a suitable husband for his daughter Iyabo before it was too late. One day, Mr. Shogun heard that the son of one of his good friends, a young man named Tayo, who had just returned to the village after living in the city for many years, was looking to take a wife. Excited at this golden opportunity, Mr. Shogun quickly told his friend all about his daughter Iyabo. A date was fixed for Tayo to come and meet Iyabo with the intent of possibly marrying her. When Iyabo heard about the potential husband visiting, she was overjoyed. Could this finally be her chance to get married, like all her friends and sisters? The night before Tayo's visit, the excited Iyabo spent hours dressing and grooming herself beautifully in preparation to meet her would-be husband. The next day, Tayo arrived at Iyabo's family compound. But as soon as he set his eyes on the very fat Iyabo, his face fell in disappointment. This was clearly not the beautiful woman he had imagined marrying. "I cannot marry this mountain of a woman," Tayo said rudely. staring at Iyabo's large body in disgust. Without another word, he turned and left the compound. Iyabo was utterly heartbroken. All the joy and excitement she had felt moments ago faded away instantly. She went back to her room, locked the door, and cried uncontrollably for days. I will die single and alone. No man will ever want to marry me, she cried over and over again. After spending days cooped up crying in her room, Iyabo finally got tired of hiding away and feeling depressed. There had to be a solution to her problem, she thought. She knew exactly where to turn. She would visit the great river goddess. Iyabo left the house and walked through the village until she reached the river's edge. Taking a deep breath, she called out in a loud voice, Great river goddess, please hear my call and comfort. I am in dire need of your assistance. As if by magic, the river surface began to bubble and churn. Then an incredibly beautiful woman with shining blue skin emerged from the churning waters. It was the river goddess herself. What can I do for you, young lady? The river goddess asked. Please, great goddess, make me slim and beautiful like the other ladies my age. Iyabo pleaded, tears filling her eyes again. All the men in the village have rejected me because of my body size. All my friends are married, and here I am, still unwanted and alone. Please help me become slim so I can find a husband to marry me, I beg of you. The river goddess regarded Iyabo with a look of pity and understanding. My dear, you are beautiful just the way you are. You must learn to love yourself, despite what others may think. However, I will assist you. Before the next market day, you will find a man who will love you, cherish you, and take you as his wife. This I promise. Iyabo thought about what the river goddess had said. The promise of finally finding a husband was thrilling, but this was not enough for Iyabo anymore. Her face hardened with hatred and anger. First, she began, I want all the men in this village that rejected and humiliated me all these years to suffer. I want them to pay for all the pain that they put me through with their cruel words and look of disgust. The river goddess was silent for a moment. Then she simply said, It is done. Your wish is granted. The next morning, a great confusion broke out in the village of Owo-Oke. All the men awoke to find their manhoods had completely vanished overnight. No explanation could be found for why their male organs had mysteriously disappeared. Panicked, the men rushed to consult the village juju priest, a man considered to have great mystical powers and knowledge of the spirit world. It was he who gave the men the shocking answer for their plight after consulting his oracle. It is Iyabo, the fat woman, who has taken away all your manholes as an act of revenge for the humiliation and rejection she had suffered at your hands for so many years, the juju priest proclaimed. The only way for your manholes to be restored is for every man to sleep with Iyabo. Until then, you all will remain as you are, incomplete men. A collective groan went through the crowd of men as they realized their fate. The juju priest's words were absolute. If they wanted to be made whole again, they would have to sleep with the fattest, most undesirable woman in the village. It was a devastating blow to their egos, but the men had no choice. One by one, they lined up outside Iyabo's hut, waiting for their turn to sleep with the woman they had scorned for so long. Surprisingly, despite their initial repulsion, Iyabo appeared instantly attractive to the men the moment they stepped into her hut to lay with her. The men would literally spend hours upon hours copulating with Iyabo. Their manhoods will become energetic and insatiable when with her, yet totally inactive and limp when they try to lay with their wives or any other woman in the village. They were powerless against the hold Iyabo had over them. For Iyabo, it was a total bliss and vindication. This was everything she had always dreamed about, to be desired by every man, to be seen as the most beautiful and lusted after woman in the village instead of a fat, undesirable one. The wives tried everything to lure their husbands back, even threatening to leave them. But the men simply could not pull themselves away from Iyabo's intoxicating and bewitching spell. After many days of torment, the fed-up wives finally went to the juju priest, demanding that he must find a way to break their husbands free from Iyabo's curse and restore their manhood once and for all. There must be some kind of counter spell that can overpower this dark magic Iyabo has employed. They pleaded with the juju priest. Our homes and families are being torn apart. You have to help us. The juju priest, taking pity on these women, cast his bones and consulted his mystical oracle once more. After several long moments and some wiggling of his nose, he finally spoke. Yes, there is a way to break this curse over your husbands, he said. You must take this pot that possesses ancient magic. He handed the wives a small pot. Spray the contents around Iyabo's hut, and she will fall into a deep sleep. Then chant this counter curse phrase I will teach you. The spell over your men will be dissolved. Their manhoods and ability to desire other women will instantly be restored. The wives crushed the pot in their hands, like it was the most precious jewel in the world. They quickly learned the counter curse phrase from the juju priest, thanking him for his help. That night, while the men were once again in Iyabo's hut, the wives set their plan into motion. Under the darkness, they crept into Iyabo's compound silently. With steady hands, the wives carefully spread the white powder in the pot around Iyabo's hut. Inside, Iyabo lay in the center of the hut, on a mat, deep asleep, surrounded by the slumbering body of their husbands and lover. Then quickly they chanted the ancient counter curse phrase 3 times, just as the juju priest had instructed. At first, nothing seemed to happen. But then the men woke up, shaking their heads as if waking from a trance. Their eyes went wide as they realized where they were and what they had been doing. My wife, forgive me. I did not mean to stray. Some dark power was controlling me. They started exclaiming as they rushed back to their respective wives' arms. The spell had indeed been broken. Word spread rapidly through the village of the curse being dissolved and Iyabo's hold over the men destroyed. The husbands and wives rejoiced in being reunited again. As for Iyabo, she awoke the next day feeling confused and dizzy, with no memory of the previous night's event. When she tried calling out to the men who had so eagerly satisfied her desire just a day ago, she was met with silence. The men had all returned to their wives, refusing to look even in Iyabo's direction now that her spell over them had been broken. Realizing that the curse she had enacted upon the village menfolk through the river goddess had somehow been undone, Iyabo knew there was only one person who could provide answers. She had to return to the river and try to find the river goddess once more. Without wasting time, Iyabo ran through the village to the river bank. When she arrived, she began to call out the river goddess' name. Great river goddess, please comfort and speak to me. I am in need of your assistance. But despite Iyabo's repeated pleas, the river goddess did not appear. She cried out for what felt like days, sitting by the river banks, but the river goddess never showed herself. Iyabo could not understand why the river goddess had abandoned her. Was it because the river goddess was angered that the curse she enacted had been broken? Was her wish for all the men to desire her instead of finding a husband she had always wanted? As the days turned into weeks, Iyabo was forced to accept the harsh reality. The river goddess will never appear to her again. The bitterly disappointed and heartbroken woman had no choice but to return to her village with no answer and no prospect of ever finding a husband. Iyabo realized too late that she should have stuck to her initial wish to simply find a husband rather than bewitch lust. Her moment of vengeance and her greed for more had cost her the chance at a real loving marriage that the river goddess seemed to have been offering. And so it was that for the rest of her days, Iyabo lived out her life as the village's loneliest fat woman. The story of Iyabo is a morality tale. It is an example of how destructive anger, greed, and obsession over societal beauty standards could be if left to fester on one's heart. Though Iyabo was a victim of cruelty for years due to her body size and shape, her lashing out in such a spiteful way brought her no true happiness or fulfillment in the end. The lesson from this story can be found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse.
All right, we will ignore the book of Proverbs stuff. Funny enough, I actually know a sister that kind of favors the Iyabo in the story. But seriously, because I know there's some moments for tongue in cheek here. This is the kind of stuff that we really should be on top of. When we talk about, in the past, I talk more about it in the past, curriculum and stuff like that. This is the kind of stuff I kind of envision. You have these little stories and stuff like that that young children can get some understanding of who they are, who are their people. And, you could, just from a story like that, a 13-minute story, you could set up 3 or 4 essay prompts. You could set up some writing prompts and stuff for young learners to extract certain information and stuff like that. This way, you could kind of push your culture, your traditions, your history, And in fact, if anyone out there is interested, because I've been thinking about this very same thing, actually, now with the AI graphic stuff, all you got to do is sit and write a story. And as a matter of fact, as you guys have seen recently, you could go on ChatGPT and basically tinker with that until you have a story, and then add these AI generated images and so forth and so on. So I think it's something that we all have an opportunity to get involved in and furthering our cause through these types of technologies and stuff like that. So that's my spiel on that. Let me mix it up a little bit. Buana, what say you to what you just saw, as well as to the idea that video has 1 million views only using AI voice and AI art? Talk about it.
No, Coco, I certainly will be playing this for my lady. She teaches grade 2 and 3, and this is something that will be able to. Well, this is a little bit. it's a little bit racy, but I think that these kinds of storylines would be relatable to a classroom setting, in terms of her kids would be able to understand a lot of the things and images, and they'll be able to learn and understand from the storyline. So I will be playing this for her, because I think that she'll be able to apply this for her classroom setting. Very interesting storylines, and I think that you could take these storylines and apply these in very different kinds of ways. I like how whoever made this clip, how they use the cultural aspects of their culture and customs to create storylines. I think that is a very interesting thing to do, and I think that the younger people would be very attracted to these. I was attracted to the storylines because in my mind, I don't think. I mean, what's the problem with a Yabo? I'd smash a Yabo on a date, But I'm a pervert, and I assign a lot of perversions to her getting trains pulling up. But just on the face of it. But I'm saying that really and truly, the ultimate storylines of these kinds of things could be very impactful. I think that you could really just could create any storyline that you want, and push some understandings about the world. And not only younger people will be able to get a perspective from it, even older people like us. You could pull from the storyline many different kinds of principles and ideas. And I think that this is a fascinating thing, the use of AI and technology. I think that this is a way forward in the future, because if 1 million people could do this and extract some kind of information from it, I think this tool could be extremely useful. Extremely useful. So for people like yourself who creates these kinds of images often, and Oni, y'all in this kind of arena, I think that y'all could use these kinds of things to create your own narratives and storylines and get a wider viewing audience. So I think it's something very interesting to really, really look at. I really do. But and even Black Steel. Black Steel is a teacher as well, so I know it'll be useful for him as well. But I'm curious to know what their opinions will be on this particular prompt. I'll just leave it there.
But Juan, I just want to add that even you could do it too, and you could bring some value to a certain topic, be it civics or whatever.
But Coco, I don't know how to create I don't know how to create the images and things. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that shit.
What's my idea? My idea is when you don't know how to do something, you work with someone who can, right? So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So easily, and again, I'll throw it out there because I saw Daily Affirmation by Pauline said, interesting, and it made me think. She would be a good person, actually, not to put any job on you, but she would be a good person if she learned how to make the images, which I believe you could use Canva, because I use Canva to make a lot of similar type images like these in the story. You could use Canva, create a slideshow, put the audio to it, and right there you could start putting out a series of stories. I mean, just simple
that's
as
true.
that. Like
yes, that's true.
A couple of us are from the same place. We might not have the technical know-how, but we could tell some Bahamian stories in this fashion, provided we have someone come along who could do the images and this, that, and the other. So it's only says Midjourney doesn't do it. I have a feeling Canva could do it. Now the stuff with the moving parts in the pictures, I'm not sure if Canva does that. But hey, do some investigation. We figure out what they use to do this. And you start brainstorming and come up with stories. And you put the images to an audio track, and right there you could put out, like I said, series of stories that only build up the confidence of the youth, which is why I keep talking about the youth, but also gives the adults something to also impart to the youth, to talk to the youth about and stuff like that. So it's just a thought. Just a thought. If you guys are interested,
No. You are. Yeah, Koki, you are exactly right. And with some elbow grease and like you say, you have to go to the people who actually have the know-how to do it. And it's something that it's really something serious to look into. So I would take it seriously. And oh goodness, sometimes I have so much things on my plate. But you are exactly right. You are exactly right. Exactly right. You can't be lazy about it. You are exactly right.
Absolutely, yeah. You can't be lazy about it when it's right, like you're seeing it play out. It's not a hypothetical. And by the way, there's a couple of videos on YouTube that tell you how to like create animation using the software, the online software Canva and stuff. This is how I know a little bit about it, because I was looking into doing some animation stuff with Canva. So but this actually seems better for me. I mean, imagine going through Carter Woodson's children's book and just recreating some of the stories, the African stories and stuff, or creating your own stories and just creating your own images and stuff like that. So you can do it by teams. You don't have to do it by persons. Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, good recommendation. Yeah, I just thought something like that would be interesting. I could get, like I said, again, hit me up on the Discord if y'all interested. Maybe we could get a little group going, doing some stuff.
And use sorry for interrupting. And use people like Daily Affirmations by Pauline voice. She is very articulate. She can articulate things very well. So I think that would be something very good to just use her voice, not to just use her voice for free, but to use her voice to articulate some of these images. So I think that is something that's very useful. You are absolutely right.
Yeah, and the matron as well. Shout out to the matron. Use folks like that. And if we were to do it on KWAZ Radio, imagine all the different people that we have here that we could, just put together some audio and stuff and put together stories, put them out. With that said, let's go to Black Steel, who is a teacher. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on the story? What are your thoughts on how they put it together, etc.?
I think the technology could be used in many different ways, and I think it definitely could be a teaching tool. One thing we have to do is we have to compete with a lot of technology nowadays. A lot of kids are on their phones. You know, they don't want to focus on the lesson. You know, it's hard to get them to read stuff. So this is a story. This is a technology that could definitely be used to reach people, especially young people. Images and narration. In fact, I would even have them do an assignment using technology. You know, when we're discussing a topic, okay, we're doing this, you know, have a certain rubric, and you create a presentation for me to grade. So that could be something that they could use as a
that's a great idea.
Yeah, so that way they can, you know, the thing is to get them involved in the learning instead of me just being the one to dictate to them, get them involved in the actual process. So I definitely would think that would be good information. The story is and I'm saying, you know, I made a few jokes tongue in cheek because black people, especially black men, they like big girls, you know. Yabo would have no problem. Let her meet a dude from the South or a Jamaican. Oh, she would have had dudes kicking down her door. Come on now. And
Shit, I was trying to get at Yabo.
yeah, but she looking for a man. Hold on, Yabo. Come on. So I mean, it's but I understand the story about the parable. Don't ask for, you know, too much. Appreciate what you have, you know, because sometimes what's the expression, two in the hand, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. It's better to appreciate that what you have than try to go and pursue more, the possibility. She was so focused on revenge that she ended up missing out on something that would have made her happy. You know, they say comparison is the thief of joy, and that's a very good point. So it's a good tool to teach a story. Uh, Entertaining, you know, all the views. I'm pretty sure Yabo might have just needed to move around a little bit, maybe not stay in the village. You know, if maybe she needs to expand her options a little bit, go to the next village down the road. Make your make your Plenty of Fish account, Yabo. You got this. I got faith in you, sis. I'll leave it there.
Provide triggers for evolution in the chat says targeting preteens and youths with this technology and educating them different parts of the continent from cultural or socio-political historical perspectives would help. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. We could present problems commonly found on the continent or in the black world and possible solutions and show people how to think it through and all that kind of stuff. Again, if you guys are interested, you know, my time is kind of limited these particular days, but hit me up on the Discord. Maybe we could create a little space on the Discord for further discussion and actually executing some of this stuff. And you know what? If enough of us were to do it, and you could inspire some of your youth around you to do it, and if you submit it, I could do a show where I present all the different stories that were created and told. All right, so hit me up on the Discord about it. With that said, only you've heard everything everyone else had to say in the chat on the panel. What say you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to invite Yabo to Jamaica. No, I'm joking.
I knew it.
I'm Jamaican, but no, I'm joking. Nah, man, I ain't trying to go to Yabo. All right, you know you are. All right, but like, yeah. So that's one of the things. I don't know if you guys know. Midjourney was like considered one of the easier AI tools to use, but you can't, you know, kind of make beautiful, you know, can't make thick women. You can't do none of that stuff. There is stable diffusion and like different mods for stable diffusion, but like so far I didn't really understand it. You know, I mean, somebody did recommend because that's the thing. Sometimes those questions are better asked on Reddit. You know, so you know that's something that's possible, but yeah, the AI art is really going fast. And what's interesting is that this is AI voice too. You know, So there's not even like a real person here. You know, like the only thing that a real person did was, you know, maybe write the story. And again, you could get Chat GPT to write your story. So you can get an AI to write your story, AI to do the voice, AI to do the art. The other thing that they did, it looks like they have the highlighting of the words every time it's read. I don't actually know how to do that, but maybe they even have like a AI to do that. You know, and if that's the case, it's like
I think they did that in PowerPoint.
You said come again?
I think you can do that in PowerPoint. I'm pretty sure they did that in PowerPoint.
Oh, PowerPoint. Okay, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's like the fact that all of this is so simple. And again, this person generates 1 million views, and they generate, I don't know how many stories they generate, but like their account is probably filled with content, and so they're turning a profit off of just telling, you know, kind of quasi African stories. That's right here. Look at that, 1 million views, and they only have 17,000 followers. You know, and I think maybe possibly a lot of their videos. Oh, look, somebody says the face behind it. Okay, so it's possible that a lot of their videos are. Well, looks like, I don't know. Maybe not all of them got 1 million views, but this one did. I mean, I guess because it's, you know, thick. But that kind of tells you, you know, a few things. You know, one, you can like you could do the market testing. You can do the so on and so forth. And it's like you can become a one person studio, and if your story is engaging enough, right? Like this story is engaging, right? You can teach people how to turn a profit off of, a harmless profit. You know, they don't gotta be Jesse Lee Peterson. Of course, you know, you can teach them to be Jesse Lee Peterson too. But they don't gotta be just like one thing about this story is that even though this lady, you know, she's probably not pulling Jesse Lee Peterson numbers, okay? Maybe she is, maybe she isn't, I don't know. But even though this lady is she creates this this essentially studio, this product, right? She's not degrading black people per se. You know what I mean? She's not saying, or she's not bigging up white folks. There's nothing to do with white folk here. This is just some remote African village, right? I mean, the ending with the proverbs, maybe that's a little bit bigging up white folk, but beyond that, it's just some black woman, you know, the village chief and this that, so on and so forth, and you go about it and you win, you know, like you win, and everybody walks away with an interesting story and all that kind of stuff. So how to do it, you know, I don't, like I said, I don't have certain skills here. And of course, you know, my go-to AI app is a waste of money. You know, I'm not going to tell people to go do Stable Diffusion, and I'm not going to tell people to do Midjourney. Obviously, you probably should just do Stable Diffusion, especially if you're trying to do stories like this. You know, because I think that the attractiveness of Iabo, if you will, or the thickness of Iabo, really plays into the story, or really plays into why this lady has so many views. And you know, you could do that in a harmless way, you know. So I think yeah. I mean, we should use this technology, um, um, and that we can get so much further with it. Like there's so much in our hands, and we're not taking advantage of it. That's it.
Well, you know what I was thinking about while you were talking? What's your damn? How can I forget the name? What's the name of your first book again?
Oh yeah, Zubiri and the Moons of my eye.
Yeah, like a Zubiri type thing. If you could feed it the descriptions and stuff like that. You could make a visual version of like a story like that. That's the kind of stuff we really should jump on, especially when it's really, and from what I could tell, low cost to minimal cost, and you could kind of pool resources in terms of who does what, things that I think we should. I really do think we should get into that.
You're right, man. You're right.
And I appreciate that. Does anyone else have any further thoughts on this prompt?
Yeah, just a small point. Just a small point, Koku. For the listeners out there, we are in the so-called information age, and we are also in the technological age. Okay. Now, some of us are a little bit older, so we was at the cusp of when these things first started. So sometimes we get technological fatigue. We don't want to learn all the new technological advancements and going forward because we feel like we are a place. But I say a little at a time, a little at a time. You learn a little at a time, and don't let the technology get so far advanced where it get beyond you. Because the people who are in our competition are going to use this technology to compete against us, to manipulate us, to defeat us in the future. So I understand that we may be a little bit older, but try to understand and learn the technology. I didn't even know this was an AI generated voice. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. So don't be ashamed to try to say you don't know and try to understand the technological advancements in this so-called information age, because you want to always make yourself relevant. Always make yourself relevant. No matter how old you are, you could always inform yourself and be a participant in the so-called information age, because you also have something to give to this future generation of people, and all your wisdoms and all your understandings prior to the technological age. Because looking at this, when I saw this particular lady, I would have reached out to her by email and try to get some understanding and what she knows. Because you have something to bring to the table as well. So don't make yourself irrelevant or be so fearful in trying to know and understand all these things that Oni and Koku was talking about. You learn a little bit at a time. You don't learn everything all at once. You learn a little bit at a time, and keep yourself relevant. Keep yourself relevant in this so-called information and technological age. I just really wanted to put that out there for the brothers and sisters who may not necessarily be as technologically literate as Oni and Koku.
I appreciate that, Buana. You know what I'm gonna do? Buana says something real important. I'm gonna reach out to that sister. I want to reach out to her and invite her, maybe interview her, and glean from her how she does it, and go from there. I think that's what I'll do. So, does anyone else have any other last thoughts here? If not, what we'll do is we'll go to Shooter Breeze topic number 4 for time's sake. We're going to end at 11 p.m. So just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. We're ending at 11 p.m. Make sure you hit the like button if you're here, share the episode, and invite some folks to come through and check out these conversations. It's a shame we don't have a couple of hundred people here right now listening to this conversation. Shooter Breeze topic number 4 says, still think what's happening in Palestine doesn't matter to Africans. This came with a link that's taking us to another short on YouTube. So I'll play it and then we'll discuss it.
In fact, African diamonds are Israel's biggest export. We're talking $10.5 billion worth a year. Funds that could be used to develop Africa rather than destroy Gaza. Let's take the DR Congo as an example. An Israeli billionaire by the name of Dan Gertler took control of diamond mines in the DRC after bribing the Kabila family in 1997. Those deals reportedly cost the country almost $2 billion, which is more than 50% of the country's health budget. But it's not just diamonds. Gertler also controls cobalt and copper mines, acquired through dodgy deals and exploitative practices. So dodgy, the US put him on a sanctions list in 2017. Even Netanyahu hasn't managed that yet. African diamonds help Israel make a killing, literally. It cuts and resells our precious stones with a big chunk of the profits going to its military. In fact, African diamonds are Israel's biggest export. We're talking $10.5 billion worth a year. An Israeli billionaire by the name of Dan Gertler took control of diamond mines in the DRC after bribing the Kabila family in 1997. Those deals reportedly cost the country almost $2 billion, which is more than 50% of the country's health budget. But it's not just diamonds. Gertler also controls cobalt and copper mines, acquired through dodgy deals and exploitative practices. So dodgy, the US put him on a sanctions list in 2017. Even Netanyahu hasn't managed that yet. African diamonds help Israel make a killing, literally. It cuts and resells our precious stones with a big chunk of the profits going to its military. In fact, African diamonds are Israel's biggest export. We're talking $10.5 billion worth a year. Funds that could be used to develop Africa rather than destroy Gaza. Let's take the DR Congo as an example. An Israeli billionaire by the name of Dan Gertler took control of diamond mines in the DRC after bribing the Kabila family in 1997. Those deals reportedly cost the country almost $2 billion, which is more than 50% of the country's health budget. But it's not just diamonds. Gertler also controls cobalt and copper mines, acquired through dodgy deals and exploitative practices. So dodgy, the US put him on a sanctions list in 2017. Even Netanyahu hasn't managed that yet.
I like that. Netanyahu. Should be something number 4 says, still think what's happening in Palestine doesn't matter to Africans. You know, I do remember there were folks in the chat. I think Trigger Happy was one of the main ones who was saying that, yeah, we have to be concerned with what's going on in Palestine by the hands of the Israelis, only because we understand that Israel is a machine that we don't want operating in Africa. So I think I don't think anyone disagrees with that per se. I think the crying, so to speak, the everyday caring for Palestinian people without acknowledging that these people don't care for you, I think that's really what was the debate. But I'm still curious to hear what the chat, those of you who are still with us tonight, and what the panelists have to say about it. Juan, I'll start with you. What say you to what you just saw?
Well, my position, Koku, my position hasn't changed. I am sympathetic to what's going on with African Palestinians or the people who look just like me in Palestine. I am sympathetic to their cause. I don't want them to be genocided. But as I stated before, I fight with the battle closest to me right now is issues with dealing with Haiti and what's going on in Haiti right now. My problem is with Rudo and all them other Caribbean gangsters along with my government and Western governments trying to go into Haiti and do a lot of skullduggeries in Haiti right now. I am concerned about my neighbors to the south of me. That's my biggest concern. I'm not saying that the Palestinians don't matter. You know, I don't have the belief that one group of humans in better than another group of humans. But the human beings I'm concerned with is the human beings who look most likely, who look most like me, who look most like me. Some people say, well, you know, Bawani, you're being bigoted. That's the nature of things. And I am concerned about the human beings who look just like me, who is being mistreated the most, closest to me. Right now, currently, that's Haiti. And that's the issue that I take arms with, and that's the issue that for me is mostly presented in my eye. Not only that, the human, the people, my own countrymen who suffer daily right now. Right now, I'm out light on this podcast, and also my other brothers and sisters who struggle all around me in the Western world. You know what I mean? Palestine is a very far country, and like I say, I am concerned also with the mistreatment of the Africans in Palestine, not only by the Israelis in Palestine, but also by the Palestinians who mistreat the African people there too. Nobody ever have that dialogue and discussion. Arab Palestinians mistreat Black African Palestinians all the time. Nobody have these kinds of conversations. I am a Pan-Africanist. My view of the world has already been skewed. You're not going to take me away from that because another group of people, Let me tell you something, Coco. Saudi Arabia is also an Arab country, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. One of the wealthiest countries in the world. If they wanted to arm the Palestinians to make the fight equivalent to what's happening to them, they could do so tomorrow. They could do so tomorrow. They are also a Muslim country. Let them deal with the Palestinians if they want to come to their rescue and aid. Why recruit me? Why recruit the other African people who have a pot to piss in on the window to throw it out of? No, 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 no. I think that we need to deal with matters concerning us first. Just as the Saudi Arabians, who are the most wealthiest people in the world, will deal with their people, the Arab people. They don't give a shit. All of them are supposed to be Muslims, but they care about the Arab Muslims more so than they care about the African Muslims. Let's not play these kinds of games. Let's not play these kinds of games. Okay? Let's not play these kinds of games. So I am concerned about my African brothers and sisters, where if they're in Palestine or they're in Americas or if they're in the West Indies or Africa itself. I, as a Pan-Africanist, this is my duty. This is my responsibility, first and foremost, because we are in a competition with the world. Then we could talk about humanism. Then we could have a discussion on humanism. You know, but I'll leave it there, Koku, brother. I'll leave it there, man. I'll leave it there.
I appreciate it, Buana. Oni, what say you?
Yeah, I hate to say, I agree with Buana. No, I'm joking. I hate to say that. But the rules of the world is simple, right? When you are on a sinking ship, okay, put your life vest on first. Then help your kids, help your family, but put your life vest on first. The trouble is that like what's going on around the world. I mean, I guess the way to say it really is that unfortunately, as some black people are pointing out, some black people are pointing out early, they said, look, why are we talking about this when we never talk about that? Okay? And that being Congo, Sudan, Haiti, so on and so forth, right? And sometimes when you see that, you're like, hey man, why are you saying that right now? Let them talk about, this. But then 3 months later, right? It's not like you're gonna get a turn. It's not like all of a sudden, after this is all said and done, you're gonna be discussing, everybody's gonna turn their focus on Haiti or Sudan or Congo. They're not. And of course, I'm not saying that the people, in Palestine deserve what's happening to them, or that, I'm not going to, do that, the reduction is, well, they're Arab and they're Muslim, and we don't like Arabs, we don't like Muslims, because again, like these are like what's going on in Palestine is a bunch of kids being killed, as far as we can tell, right? And of course, it relates to, as this person is pointing out, a certain population that, might be up to no good. But again, you can't overlook that there are a lot of Arabs as well who are up to no good. We can't overlook that. The point though that I would land on is we personally, like we shouldn't be brought into, in fact, somebody else's religious struggle. Somebody else's political struggle, if you will, right? We shouldn't be dragged into that if we're not handling our own thing. And I do think, Israel's on the wrong side, obviously, right? And partly because I know it's America's, it's America's boy. You know what I mean? And so I think targeting America by targeting its satellite state is important. In fact, one of these one of the sisters on Twitter said something really interesting when this Israeli person was saying, "Hey, we're the only Western civilization in the Middle East. And she said, well, why do we need a Western civilization in the Middle East? You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? She got a point. Like, why? Like, they hard bragging on bringing Western civilization outside of the West. And to do that, I'm telling you, I don't know why they got to show this, but I see some little girl with her skull cracked open. Like brain matter missing, empty eyes. And it's like this is about quote unquote Western civilization, which is just a genocidal settler, bullshit, right? This is about religion, where we're saying this is the Holy Land, so we're going to kill people for it. This is about, again, religion. You know what I mean? One of the worst, like a really a negative, all around. Okay. And of course, I got to censor myself on another platform. But my point is this: yeah. I mean, I think we should put the life vest on ourselves first. But I do think it is good to attack the enemies of our states because Israel is no friend of Africans. That's for sure. And it does become, and if this is an opportunity to attack the West, the West is no friend of Africa either. This is an opportunity to attack the West. That's a good opportunity to take. And I think that's another thing that Black people need to, look into. It's like sometimes you want to hit the empire. It's not about the Palestinians, although again, like I said, they're pretty innocent in this. But sometimes you want to hit the empire. And so this is an opportunity to hit the empire. And that's why, like I said, China and Russia are both, interested and invested in this struggle because it's a good opportunity to, for those who don't know, America is probably the biggest terrorist on the planet. So it's a good opportunity to halt the expansion and the rise and the power of the terrorist state that is, the United States, and of course its satellites like Israel and so on.
I appreciate that, Oni. In the chat, Provide Triggers for Evolution says there's much on the African Stream platform, keeping the Congolese genocide front and center in the minds of those who care to pay attention. I would ask my panelists if you guys are familiar with the African Stream platform. She goes on to say Rwanda's role in the Congolese genocide, as well as being given some attention as well. Lastly, she says Rwanda's role in supporting the Congolese genocide has been addressed / discussed on the African Stream platform as well. So I guess we're being introduced, I guess, to a new platform on YouTube. Are you guys familiar with the African Stream?
Yes, I'm very familiar. They have great videos.
Yeah, I am familiar with the African Stream as well, in terms of the situation in terms of Rwanda and the Congolese. See, you talk about Kagame. Kagame is a very interesting character. He's a very interesting character, and I'm in two minds about Kagame, but that'll lead into a whole nother kind of discussion. Kagame is the president of Rwanda, by the way. So that'll lead into a whole other kind of conversation, and I want to just be brief, but it's a whole other kind of different kind of conversation when Provide Triggers starts to talk about the Congolese versus the Rwandans. Whole different kind of conversation, but it's just I'll just leave it. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I've heard of I've seen the logo a few times, but yeah, I kind of agree with what Juan is saying that the Congolese situation is very complex, I would say, and I feel like sometimes we overlook the influence of Belgium and of course the United States. I think I think it's very. It's very interesting that we tend to, shift to Kagame per se, when what's going on in the Congo is so like has been ongoing for like 60 years now, you know, and I mean what Kagame's role is in that, is really questionable, compared to kind of like how they're just showing us right here, where this guy, I guess we kind of ignored the topic ahead, where this guy, this random Israeli, is exporting, diamonds to the point of being able to assist the Israeli economy. So Israel has a pretty large economy, as it were, and this man is able to, finance its military off of resources taken from the Congo. And so, when we bring in Kagame, and I'm not dismissing the Kagame, but when we bring in the Kagame, we have to, we have to bear that in mind as well. And I think Provide Triggers Revolution made a good point that this is in fact a platform that's saying that. But again, I think for us, like the Belgium, United States, those sort of countries, I feel like those aren't mentioned enough, despite like when you go into the history of that country, how involved they were. That's it.
Yeah, Provide Triggers is and Oni is correct. Provide Triggers is pointing out that the video that we just watched is from the African Stream platform. I hadn't realized that, so my apologies there, Provide Triggers. But yeah, that's from that platform right there. There was a white guy who was just trying to get on the platform. Of course, he was kicked off. But then Real Black Gentleman showed up. Real Black Gentleman, you're not the same white guy who was just trying to get on, right?
No, this is me. This is me with the different little logo.
All right.
I mean, I get. How's everyone doing? How you doing, Koku?
Good. Thanks for coming through. Go ahead.
I guess I'll try to be short with it. I mean, as far as like the question, you see how the diamond mines. Look, I'm just going like, running up the middle with it, right? When we talk about these Jews, you got to understand their placement throughout Europe through history, right? And Belgium is one of those places where Jews were during that colonial period. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about Israel and, in Belgium, just keep in mind that there's a lot of Jews in Belgium. That's why, that's what it is. Frankly, I'm just going to keep it a buck. When we talk about European colonialism, I mean, when you look at, the financial aspect, a lot of that comes from, Jewish people and stuff. So it's like when you look at who's leading the charge through all of colonialism throughout history, you remember, John Henry Clark said Christopher Columbus was a Jew from Genoa. You know what I'm saying? Like, we slip by stuff and we don't lockjaw it in our mind and pivot off some of this stuff. Look, I mean, it's important to the degree that, how do you feel knowing that a piece of Africa is funding, this, to Palestine, even though, Palestine, talk greasy to black folks, do greasy to black folks. Okay, Israel talking greasy to black folks much harder and doing a lot greasier to black people. I mean, again, Ethiopian Jews, Ethiopian women, women Jews sterilized in Egypt, in Israel. Then they run around talking about claiming an Ethiopian Jew was a Miss Israel the year after that. All the double-sidedness that Israel do, and people don't fix, they don't lock on to it and see the progression of the fuckery that they do to black people. When we talking about Belgium, we talking about them Jews. It's them, it could have been the same family, 100 years later, running through, had their eye on some land and whatnot, running through, safarism and stuff. Like I said, I wanted to keep it brief, but I mean, yeah, as long as, you know what I'm saying, you know, these Jews then run to Israel, the Jewish state, and then, you know, finance that, and then they gonna do dirty the black people in America, you know, train them and, you know, do dirty to other people around Africa, around the world, you know what I'm saying? That kind of, you know, I just, you know, just make sure that we keep in perspective and be able to pivot around what's happening. I'm gonna pass the mic.
Appreciate that, RBG. Thanks for coming through. Last but not least, Black Steel, you've seen and heard what everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
So, a couple things. For one, right, I always hear this talk about the Afro-Palestinians being brought up as a way to make it seem like, oh, the Palestinians, you know, they're racist too. And I'm not going to deny there's some anti-Black sentiment coming out of Palestine. But at the same time, you have the Afro-Palestinians who are united with their Arab Palestinian neighbors in resisting Israel. So how can you talk about the Afro-Palestinians, but you don't mention Fatima Berwani, who literally organized attacks against Israel? It's not the Palestinians that are dropping 2,000-pound bombs, who are going into the mosque in the West Bank and beating Afro-Palestinians. It's not the Arab Palestinians doing this. Okay, it seems as if we want to reject support for people based on the most reactionary elements of that people, right? So because, you know, the ADOS, the FBA clowns, they're super reactionary. Does that mean we don't support Black Americans because we got a few assholes over there? No, of course not. I think that, and I'm gonna remember what Dr. King said. You know, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. These people, these Israelis, and you know what? I'm going to be specific because the Zionism, which is a imperialist ideology, it is a racist ideology. It teaches that these Jews are the master race. They're God's chosen people, right? And that anything done to them is an affront against God Himself. So this ideology is a threat not just to the Middle East, but it's a threat to the entire world and Africa as well. Remember, prior to settling in Palestine, the Zionists and the British, who at the time colonized Palestine, looked at several places to colonize, to place the Jews. One of them being Uganda, one of them being Madagascar. So there were different places. This could very well have been happening to African people. And in many ways it is because the Afro-Palestinians are there. And I'm not saying that they had a perfect existence with the other Palestinians. But when you look at these images, you see, I saw a Black Palestinian man who had lost his family, I guess from a bomb. He was saying, we can't take this anymore. God, why can't take this anymore? At that moment, that man was not worried about being called Abid by his neighbors. He just lost his entire family to an Israeli bomb, right? We're watching this genocide unfold. We're seeing it live stream. And I want everybody to know that the silk glove is off the iron fist, right? There's no more pretenses of democracy or nothing. If you don't comply, we will kill you. And it's always been like that. But at one point, they tried to sweeten the pot, They tried to pretend, we have a rules-based international order. That's all been thrown out the window. And if they can do that live stream to Palestinians, what can they do to Africans? Like the difference between I guess the Congo and Haiti is that you're not seeing it broadcasted on social media the way you are seeing it in Palestine. We're not. I mean, I seen a mother in Congo who was killed with a baby on her back, and that image isn't being broadcast the way you see the image of the Palestinian girl who was blown in half, or the child with their brain blown out. We don't see these images coming out of Africa, and that's very deliberate because Africans are dehumanized. So I'm all for pushing all of these issues. I don't believe that supporting Palestine or understanding the importance of Palestine to the African liberation struggle, which every one of our great leaders understood the connection between the two, right? I don't think that making this an important part means you have to neglect what's going on in Haiti or what's going on in Congo or what's going on in Sudan. Real Black Gentleman talked about the Jews financing the slave trade, and that's very true because at that time in history, Jewish people were the money lenders. They couldn't really operate in society the way if others could because they were the ones who handled the money. So of course they supported that. Also in U.S. history, Judah P. Benjamin was a Jewish American lawyer who was also a member of the Confederacy. And after the Confederacy surrendered, he fled overseas. He never took a pardon from the government. So we can see Jewish people involved all in it. And again, this is not for me to lambaste Jewish people. My concern is that of the ideology of Zionism, because there are several anti-Zionist Jews who are getting the shit kicked out of them right now on campuses and in Israel. Whenever a Jewish person speaks out against this violence, they become a target. Just how white people say the only thing worse than a nigger is a nigger lover. Many people, when you don't go along with their ideology, they're gonna come down on you just as hard, if not harder. But all that to say, these issues that we're facing, right? They're all interconnected. What's going on in Congo, what's going on in Haiti, what's going on in Somalia and Burkina Faso. It is all part of the struggle against imperialism, against white global domination. Because I know we hate that word, white supremacy, because these crackers are not supreme, but they do dominate the planet through their force of the military, their full spectrum dominance. And each of these issues is attacking the overall threat to our people. So at this time, even though we see the mass slaughter going on in Palestine, Israel is still losing because they have not been able to accomplish any of their military objectives. They haven't freed the hostages. They haven't stopped Hamas. They haven't prevented Hamas from attacking them. Not only that, but Hamas is still attacking in the northern part of Gaza that was supposed to have been pacified months ago. They're not reporting their casualties. So Israel is losing because they haven't accomplished any of their military objectives to compensate for the high casualties. This should be an inspiration for all people who are involved in armed struggle, political struggle. So I'm going to leave it there. We can't ignore these people just because we got our own issues, because I understand that. But all these issues are connected. We can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. Black people are capable of doing multiple things, and I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Good stuff, Black Steel. Does anyone have any last points they'd like to make?
Yes, sir. I have last points. Very much so. I do understand Black Steel's perspective. Black Steel is ahead of us in some ways when Black Steel has a humanist perspective in terms of justice and right and wrong. Him and Malefe Asante. And I don't disagree with that position, because right is right and wrong is wrong. I agree with that. But what if you have to make a decision on, there's a thing in hospitals they determine called triage. Who is to be, in terms of a lot of people need care, a lot of people need treatment. Who should you deal with first in practicing this idea of triage? I am a Gavi, and I am going to deal with my people first. I understand right is right and wrong is wrong. I understand that perspective, and they are absolutely right about it. But if I must make a decision on where my concern should be placed first, I go into the people who look like me the most. I'm not going to Palestinians. I'm sorry and that's my reality. Just I'm not saying that their reality is wrong. I'm saying that as a Gaviite, I am gonna be triggered by what affects me the most first, and that's gonna be the people who look like me first. That should be my priority. Priority first. I'm not taking the fact that there are people who are being there in America. There was when Haile Selassie was fighting against the Italians. They recruited the Black Americans and Black Caribbean people was trying to go over there to fight on behalf of Italy at the time. Not Italy, Ethiopia. It's not because of the fact of there wasn't greater causes in the world to fight for, but they wanted to fight on the side of Haile Selassie because they felt that that took priority. Yeah, that took priority. And I am looking at the world through Pan-Africanist lens, from Gaviite lens, and I'm saying that yes, there are injustices happening all over the world. Yes, there are. I'm not ignoring that. That is an absolute fact. But if I was to make a decision over what is gonna affect me the most, people look like me the most, I'm gonna fight for my cause first. Every other causes come secondary in my mind. Every other causes come secondary. Is that right or wrong? Let history decide that. Let history decide that. But I am not gonna fight for over a Palestinian cause when I know that Haitians eating bon de terre, mud cookies. This should, in my mind, should take precedent first. In my mind, I'm not saying that Palestinian causes them being genocided is right or wrong. That is the absolute wrong in the world, and it should be defended. It should be defended. I'm not taking that away, but I'm saying that if I was to make a decision over what my cause should be, first and foremost, it should be people who look just like me. Is I bigoted? Maybe so. Let history judge me for being bigoted. Let history judge me. But this is a stance that I have taken in terms of being a Gavi. I'm sorry, man. That's just where I stand. Right or wrong, man. But I understand the humanist perspective. I do understand the humanist perspective. I understand that right is right and wrong is wrong. In a civilized world, equality should be across the board. But if we should make a decision, it should be me first. Me first, because I understand we are in a competition with the rest of the humanity. And they would take us out. The same people we defended sometimes. Let me not even go there. I'm just saying that I understand, but in terms of dealing with the world, I should deal with the world as it is. And maybe it's selfish of me looking at the world in that regards, but that's just how I look at the world. But I'll leave it there.
Yo, Buana, Azuli in the chat is saying to stop that. He's saying that Haitian people are not eating that. Do you want to respond to that?
Azuli watched the same. He watched the same video I watch on the same station and channel. If he was to say that is not true, then he is calling the people who is saying that they are actually eating that liars. Though his issue is not with me. His issue is with the people who are saying they actually doing that. Not with me.
Anyone else has any last thoughts on this prompt?
Yeah, I do. Just basically that I worry that, to kind of lean off of what Juana is saying, that as much as we do have to focus on us first as Black people, the nature of the political fracturing of us, our whole policy about it, there's you know what I'm saying? There's 80 different Black perspectives of how it's going to happen. That inherently it leaves us vulnerable to a divide and conquer strategy in which our various interpretations of the problem become even more distorted. Do you understand what I'm saying? I part of this has to do with Black people, again, I might say something bold that it might have to turn into Garveyism, but Garveyism, there's going to be a rival. So what is the primary rival to Garveyism then around the world? Primary. I might have to go ahead and say, you know what I'm saying? It's that small hat, baby. That's what I'm getting at. It's not necessarily that air, because I mean, Saudi Arabia and Israel are allied. Like when we see this political world, like you have to overlap. You have to look at all the levels, the religious, the religious. You have to overlap them and see them as filters. Pull one out, put one back in, and see the comparison and see how things shift between religion and policy and economics. All I'm saying is for Black people, it's white people, right? But look, when I look at history of Africa, African people, I see the Boers, right? Them is Jews, right? Them, it's white people, it's Dutch and it's German, but them is Jews. And you look at the French side, right? You know what I'm saying? That quiet French Jew side, bruh. Peoples. Look, it's white peoples in there too, right? It's white peoples. But man, look, I don't want to suspend my sense of belief. And when I see, I see identity. I see people. I see them. I see they, you know what I'm saying? Things are what they are. And so look, that's what I'm getting at. If it is Garveyism, who's the primary? It can't just be Garveyism just in a vacuum. And what's attacking us? It's just, we have to focus on us now. That's how we get divided and conquered. That's all I'm gonna say.
Does anyone else want to add any last thoughts here? In the chat, Kofi, the Black Critic, says all that has been said by Black Steel and Buana is right. Sorry. Brother Bakari says Palestine does not matter to African people or shouldn't matter to African people. We have our own problems. So I'll let that be the last word.
No, you can't let that. You can't let that ignorance be the last word. You cannot let that ignorance be the last word, sir. No.
All right.
You cannot let that ignorance be the last word, because I guess he didn't watch the video. The dude, they just show how Africa's resources are being stolen. So maybe he should watch the video first before he makes such a statement like that, because Africa's wealth is being stolen to bomb children in Palestine. Yes, it most definitely does matter. Okay, the laboratory. I'm sorry. So Gaza is a laboratory of repression, right? So the tactics and the weapons used to oppress and kill the Palestinians is then exported around the world. So the United States, many police officers in the U.S. train in Israel to learn the science and the tactics of repression. Okay, so you got the NYPD, you got the LAPD going and seeing how the Palestinians are being brutalized, and they're coming back to the U.S. and using that same shit against Black people. That whole thing about George Floyd, the knee in the neck, that's Israel. That's Israel. Much of the surveillance that they use, the drone technology, that's being used by dictators all across the world. In Togo, for example, Equatorial Guinea, they're using that technology. So yes, it's a very important issue that we can't overlook. I'll leave it there. That's gonna be my last word.
Well, we are rejoined by Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, I guess you have something you wanted to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, he said my statement was ignorant because I said fuck Palestine, and I mean that. I don't care about them Palestinians. That ain't none of our business. We always running around trying to save the world and can't save our damn self. Them Palestinians ain't thinking about the Africans in Palestine. We always want to jump in somebody else's business. Always. What Palestine and them Jews going through over there is their damn business. Have nothing to do with African people. None, nowhere. Unless African people want to stick their nose in there. But guess what they ain't going to do? So for everybody who want to cape for Palestine, go fight for Palestine then. Because we ain't fighting for Black folks. That's who I'm fighting for. Go fight for Palestine. They ain't going to do that. We just going to bring attention to it. The hell with Palestine. Just like the question I asked before, and I'm going to ask again, but I did, nobody could answer. How many people, Koku, did you hear talk about, have you ever heard talk about the genocide going on in West Papua?
None.
Of course not. Those are black people. These same black people, but they ready to go cape from them stinking nasty Arabs. They took the land for somebody, but now we gonna complain because somebody taking it from them and they getting whooped. It ain't our business. We always want to stick our nose in their business, but we can't handle our own business. How can you help somebody when you ain't even helping yourself yet? It don't make sense to me. Now, he called it an ignorant statement. That is okay that he feel he's ignorant, but I bet he can't explain how you gonna help somebody else when we haven't even helped ourselves yet. When we ain't got ourselves out of this. When we got African people on the continent dirt poor because of what cricket people over there on the continent doing, or what what white folk doing, and the Asians doing, and what the Arabs doing to the people on the continent. They still had a slave trade going on in Libya while folks was loving Mugabe, whatever the hell his name is. I can't ever say his name right. I can't ever say Muammar Gaddafi, whatever the hell his name. They got a slave trade going on over there. Where's all that outcry for the African people there? But we always want to cry for somebody else. We always want to cry for the slave owner. Always. Not our business. That's just my take on it. I hear the mic.
I gotta sit down for that type of stupidity. Hold on one second. So first of all, just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean people don't talk about it. So maybe you should expand your horizons, maybe hang out with different people, because the genocide in West Papua is well known, and many people have spoken out. In fact, if you go on that same channel, African Stream, they talk about it all the time. So again, I've already said before, you say you don't care about the nasty Arabs, but then at the same time, you talk about Afro-Palestinians. So Afro-Palestinians are getting bombed. Arab Palestinians are getting bombed. So you don't care about the Afro-Palestinians there either? Is that what you're saying? Because they're getting bombed too. Or do we just care about the Africans getting bombed over there and maybe hope the bombs don't kill the black people over there in Palestine?
I only care about black folks in the stupidity of what I said. Maybe it's a bunch of people, because this is the second time me asking that question. See, I ain't had to go to nobody else's channel to hear them talk about the genocide in West Papua, because I studied the genocide in West Papua, and I know how the U.S. gave Indonesia, the U.S. and Great Britain, gave Indonesia all of those weapons to defeat them. I know all that. I ain't had to go to no, but I haven't heard you cry out for them. I haven't heard you talk about.
How do you know? How do you know that? Do we live together? Do you know where I? So how do you know I haven't?
I have not heard you. So watch this. So you ask me, do I care about the Arabs? No, I do not. I do not. The Arabs in Palestine don't care about the Arabs. The Arabs in Palestine don't care about the Africans. The Arabs in Palestine don't even care about the Africans in Palestine. They, during their oppression, when the Jews stop shooting their legs off, they go figure out a way to oppress the Africans in Palestine. So you telling me the black people in Palestine is lying about how the country in Palestine treat them? So the black people over there lying.
You know what? I'm gonna say this, okay? Because the Afro-Palestinians are fighting alongside their Arab Palestinian neighbors. So obviously they're able to get around. They can get along well enough to defend themselves. I think that what you're saying is merely just a way that, especially the Zionists, like to cause dissension. They like to talk about,
I don't know what a Zionist is. You got to make it plain to me. I don't know what a Zionist is. You got to make it plain.
You don't know what a Zionist is? Are you equipped to have this conversation? If you don't even know what a Zionist is.
I don't know what's a Zionist. What is a Zionist? That sounds like some religious stuff.
Time out.
That sounds like some religious stuff. Explain what a Zionist is.
Do you
explain what a Zionist is? See, I'm gonna show you something.
Do you not know what a Zionist is? Hold on, Bakari.
When I tell you I don't know, so now you're supposed to explain. What's a Zionist? What's a Zionist? Another name for a Jew? What's a Zionist? That sounds like some religious stuff.
Are you serious?
Are you gonna explain it? It sounds like some religious stuff.
No. Okay. You're being serious. Okay, I apologize. You're being serious. All right.
It sounds like some religious stuff. What is Zionist?
No.
Just some more Jews?
It's not.
Some more white people?
No, that's hilarious.
Some more white people?
That's funny as fuck that you didn't know what a Zionist is. Okay. a Zionist is somebody who believes in the creation of a Jewish state, right? So the Zionist movement was the movement to create a Jewish homeland, so to speak, right? So throughout the late 19th century, early 20th century, there were several people, foremost among them a Jewish man named Theodor Herzl. Theodor Herzl was a atheist, however, but the idea was to create a Jewish nation state somewhere in the world. So the Zionists, now again, not every Jewish person is a Zionist, but many people, and I'm gonna say this too, there are some Christian Zionists as well. You can be Zionist, but the idea of the Zionist is that
like I said, it's the more white folks. Like I said, it's the more white folks. Let's make it plain. Just more white folks. Y'all like to separate white folks.
Every Zionist is not white, but the idea that Jews
y'all like to separate white folks, Jews and all that. Man, I'm going to be honest. I don't get. You can go over there. You can love them Arabs. I ain't giving a damn about them Arabs. That's black folk problem. Let's worry about them while black folks get crapped on here. That's why y'all probably. That's why I always ask who skipped the Arabs spending their money. People don't like to answer that question because for some strange reason, black people think they're their friends.
It's not, it's not a matter of being friends. It's not a matter of being homeboys. It's a matter of we have a shared interest. Okay, black people have no permanent friends. We just have permanent interests. And if our interests align, then we can work with those people. If they don't align, fuck.
So is black people interest to get away from Arabs? Is that our interest should be to get from under the foot of the Arab too?
Are the Arabs currently?
That's not black people interest.
Okay, are we talking about the Palestinians? We're talking about the Arabs.
All of them the same.
See, that's the problem. See, the problem, Bakar, is that you just want to just throw everybody into one big pot with no nuance. And there's no nuance to your statements whatsoever. All right. So you just want to just throw everybody. Oh, these white people, black people, and the issues that we have are deeper than just these just people. So fuck them. You know, we have to really examine these issues honestly. So when I mentioned the Afro-Palestinians, because they're under genocide too. Are they under genocide because they're African? Or are they genocide because they're Palestinian? Because the Zionists,
they genocide because they're African.
Oh, okay. So
because they're African, because the Arabs and because the Palestinian state over there was oppressed them. I don't know how we forget. I don't know how we ignore that and make like they're okay. They're not okay.
No one's saying that, but we're comparing apples to oranges. You know, it's one thing for when first of all, the Palestinians not in a position to oppress anybody. Yeah, they may call some of their black neighbors names. They may use the word abid. I'm not saying that's okay, but in the big scheme of things, the discrimination that some Afro-Palestinians have faced is not in comparison. We're talking about an entire genocidal state that's murdered 15,000 children in the past 7 months. Because a Palestinian called them a name, we shouldn't support them? It's not. You cannot find a Palestinian, a black Palestinian who's going to say, yeah, the Israelis are bad, but the Palestinians are worse. It's not the same.
I didn't say one was worse than the other one. I say they're the same. And they treat African people the same. So it ain't my fight.
That's not a correct thing. You cannot compare. You can't look in the news right now and see what's going on in Palestine and compare that to what the Palestinians were doing to the Africans. It's not the same. It's nowhere near the same.
Oh, you're right. We can't. You know what? We can't look and see today. But what about the 700-800 years of oppression they have gone through? They're just like saying black people over here really ain't being oppressed because they ain't shooting their legs off and they ain't killed 15,000 of them in the last 7 days, so they're okay in the United States. No, that's basically what you're saying. Because it ain't happened in the last 7 days.
Words in my mouth. That's again.
Since it haven't happened in the last 7 days.
You are the master.
Since it haven't happened,
sir.
What?
Quite good.
What about the last 500 years? So what about the last 500-600 years?
The Afro-Palestinians went there of their own free will. They were actually a group of Africans who were Muslims.
Black people was already there, dude. Arabs wouldn't
No,
help.
I wasn't finished. Don't cut me off. I wasn't finished. Let me finish my point. Afro-Palestinians originally showed up in Palestine around the 8th century because they were making a pilgrimage to Mecca, and they decided to stay there because they wanted to be guards for the mosque there. So their population has increased over time. So the original black inhabitants of Palestine who showed up as pilgrims going to Mecca, they've lived there for centuries. You know what? You know what? I'm not gonna convince you. You're not gonna convince me. So I'm okay with it.
You know, and the thing is, I'm really not trying to convince you. I just say, I wonder why. How did that become black people problem? A Jew and from Israel and the Jews in Palestine and the Arabs in Palestine, all the same thing. How is that our problem? They're fighting. Then shit, a lot of it on this shit, the Hamas, however the hell you say it, Hamas, shit, they with the damn Jews, but they in Palestine, all them folks working together, and all of them will work together against damn us, but we gonna figure out a way to say, we got the same problem. Man, we got different problems than them. Their problems is theirs, and ours is ours. Because I ain't seen damn one of them. I know somebody told me, well, you know, when George Floyd, they had a couple come and tell you how to do a Molotov cocktail. Who gives a shit? 2 Palestinians that represent everybody. We had black people march around with 5,000 black people marching around with guns. Black people ished on them, but then 2 Palestinians told you how to make a Molotov cocktail. All of a sudden, Palestinians become heroes. I don't get it.
Well, with that, let's go to the last problem for the night. Let's try to squeeze it in real quick. I appreciate the conversation there. Should have been stopping number 5 tonight. Last one for the night. Is any more evidence needed to prove FBA/ADOS is a PSYOP? This came with a link that's taking us to YouTube. Let me share it with you guys. We'll watch it as a short video. I might play it twice. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss.
During the administration of Jimmy Carter, Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote a white paper that was sent to all State Department agencies that everything in their power had to be done to keep African Americans and Africans from uniting politically, culturally, or economically.
Sisters and brothers on the continent are told, don't mess with those African Americans. They do drugs, they're violence, they don't respect themselves, they don't respect their women. And I've been told by people who come here as students and what have you, that their parents are warned. Tell their children, don't mess around with those African Americans. Bad things will happen to you. So there's a deliberate lack of connectedness. And I think that the powers that be understand the potential of the link up between Africans and the diaspora.
Administration of Jimmy Carter, Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote a white paper that was sent to all State Department agencies that everything in their power had to be done to keep African Americans and Africans from uniting politically, culturally, or economically.
Sisters and brothers on the continent are told, don't mess with those African Americans. They do drugs, they're violence, they don't respect themselves, they don't respect their women. And I've been told by people who come here as students and what have you, that their parents are warned. Tell their children, don't mess around with those African Americans. Bad things will happen to you. So there's a deliberate lack of connectedness. And I think that the powers that be understand the potential of the link up between Africans and the diaspora.
All right. Should be topic number 5. Is any more evidence needed to prove FBA ADOS is a PSYOP? Let's start with Real Black Gentleman for this one. Real Black Gentleman, what say you?
How would I say it? Like, because, like, how would I say? I guess I'm of two minds, as it were. I know that is some foolishness to like be extremely. How would I say it? As black people, 50 million strong. In spite, you know what I'm saying. I love what black people have done in this country. You know what I'm saying? I really have. I really do. You know what I'm saying? We the best. It's like, that doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to start ginning up reasons as they sold us, and, you know what I'm saying, why didn't they bring back boats, and, you know what I'm saying, you know, I understand that, again, the two-sidedness of it. Like, they're being told in Africa that, you know, those people over here, us, you know what I'm saying, they're, like I said, we're just crazy, and we are drug dealers and rappers, and we are wife beaters, and we just run around and sag our pants, and we just act like buffoons out in public. I can get that. I see the two-sidedness of it. I look. The thing is, it's like, what was it? It was the Adolfs. The thing is with it was Yvette Harnell. She was out there talking about the Adolfs, and she was talking about that. And I was watching those videos. I knew it was kind of silly when she said Pan-Africanism is that. But now for real, like, I can get it that, you know, we do. I think that in the nature of what it is that, you know, in the term itself, like, I like African centered, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Pan can be misinterpreted by a lot of things. So, like, I get it. But, you know, the connection to Africa should not be just, you know, hacked at, you know what I'm saying? And just, like, you know, in spite of, you know, things that are extremely subjective and aren't grounded in, you know, material, you know, actualization and stuff. Like, I know that I heard some stuff about on the American side trying to you know, there was like focus groups that these white people were trying to just get black people just to, like, I think Yvette was part of that, or at least, you know, they had alluded to something like that. Now, it's a shame that homeboy, you know what I'm saying, other dude, what's his name? You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to name drop her like that, but you know what I'm saying? She had, you know what I'm saying, other dudes. It's a shame how, like, black people should be proud of what we have in the kind of nationalize and to try to, like, to have a sense of collecting our identity is a good thing, because I mean, we are black people, having a unit of black people is good, but at the expense of trying to negate Africa's foolishness. I mean, we never did that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of, like, petty things are being amplified because of the internet, and people are actually, like, truly, you know, and they're how would I say it? Life imitating art is going on, if you know what I'm saying. And those who recognize it, you know, the whole FBA, I mean, that was just a spinoff of that. And then, I mean, the rest is history. So, like, you know, I think, you know, part of it is, for real, I see a lot of bots. I see a lot of, like, funny styles, especially I'm on YouTube, where, like, you know what I'm saying, you see these random, you know, characters who just are, like, you know, idiotic about it, like FBA, you know, the way they're just, it's very monotonous and no substance to their whole. I look at people, I don't know, I see all this information scrolling in front of my eye. I don't take that shit for granted. I know a lot of that shit's fake. Y'all just need to think a lot of that shit fake and start sussing out what it is. You know what I'm saying? Bot agent, like, you know what I'm saying? All kinds of just random people jumping. People should. I've been thinking mods be look, but, like, the whole idea that, like, Africa is no good to Black Americans is absolutely foolishness. I mean, when you see everyone else running in, grabbing chunks of earth and running back out with it, and it's like, and then it's just, you know, when you think about the price and economics, you made in here, there, everywhere, and you know what I'm saying, like. I know it's foolish. It's not wrong. You know what I'm saying? And again, like, you know, I think a strong nations should link with other strong nations to further political union, at least. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be the weak country that no one really wants to bond with. So, yeah, it's good to have, you know what I'm saying? Black people will have to organize, at least to even deal with the beast in this bitch, right? It has to happen. But I just don't want it to go, you know what I'm saying, to where we alienate the obvious. I mean, the whole ocean thing, You know what I'm saying? It's not easy to go to Africa. So you know what I'm saying? But that's not an excuse to like give it up. I'm gonna pass the mic.
Appreciate that, Real Black Gentleman. In the chat, Provide Triggers for Evolution says the propaganda is coming from both sides on social media. The continental Africans, too, are questioning the African identity of African Americans. Trigger Happy has several comments in the chat, too. You guys make sure to check out all the comments. The last one he gave was all the COINTELPRO Pro is done by algorithms and those who own those social media sites. I agree with that 100%. It's a shame we volunteer our way onto those sites, huh? Let me mix up a little bit. I haven't heard from Oni in a bit. Oni, what say you here?
Oh yeah, this is, I'm gonna go just a little against the grain, but this is that Super Negro story. When you read the COINTELPRO papers, you realize that the reason why they say, Black Americans shouldn't connect with, continental Africans is because they say it's explicitly. They spell it out. They say they do not want a Mau revolution in America. That's it. It's not this, oh man, if Black Americans get, link up with Africa, shit, eventually, Africa's gonna have the best leadership on the planet. It's gonna be, superpower, 3.0, Pan-Africanism is accomplished. No, it's not that. It's just they don't want, like the white man, like I said, America, we gotta understand, America is the global terrorist threat, the biggest exporter of terrorism. And it has this magical effect on Black Americans. And no disrespect to Black Americans, but I'm quoting Carter G. Woodson at this point. So in the Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson tells us, he says, the eighth wonder of the world. That's not me. Again, it's not me. This is Carter G. Woodson in one of the best, books on African American psychology. He says the eighth wonder of the world. Okay, so there's 7 wonders of the world. The eighth wonder of the world is how Black Americans are so docile. This is not me. This is the father of Black American, like Black history. Okay, he says the eighth wonder of the world is how Black Americans are so docile, and Europeans all over the world get together to study that. Now, one of the reasons why Black Americans would be docile is because white Americans make sure they get as little information as possible. Okay, they get as little information as possible. I will say this, in fact, I just watched this really interesting Indian movie, right? I've never watched any Indian movies until I met, I know, my entire time in America, I've never watched an Indian movie. I barely saw any African movies, okay? I never saw any Jamaican movies. With the exception of when I was really, really young and my parents just came from Jamaica. That's the only time I've heard of, I haven't even seen, I know that, some of y'all are Caribbean, so y'all know Oliver at Large. I haven't heard Oliver at Large since I was a baby. Okay? When my parents were fresh off the boat. Since then, it's not in America. America is so controlling, so limited, and what you're going to see is, Real Black Gentleman says, nah, they met a real rebellion out yet. But of course they don't. Black folk jump upon it. They still feel, yeah, Nat Turner. Yeah, I mean, like they don't want another Nat Turner. That's for sure. They don't want Black Americans to stand up. And what reason why I brought the Indian movie was that in the Indian movie, there was 2, because this sister recommended one on Twitter, and then I saw another one just recently. And it's like these Indian men, like they write stories, like people outside of America write stories about fighting back, and not like, oh, it's a sci-fi or oh, it's a fantasy. They're talking about like the Indian movie I just saw the other day. They're talking about fighting these British people because they're British people in India. You know what I'm saying? Like real storyline. So why I'm saying this is to say that they don't want you to be they don't want you to fight them. That's it. So you heard the dude talk about earlier. He says, this JFK, not JFK, this Jimmy Carter. That's not a real article. It's not a real. It's not the Brzezinski papers. That's not a real paper. That's just something the Nation of Islam put together to, again, like make it seem like Black Americans are the key to the survival of the universe. The other thing that Rashidi said about they don't want you economically. Yeah, again, if you are controlling the people, if you're dominating the people, you do not want other people. You don't want other people to come in. Like if people, I don't know if people ever talk to anybody, any Black immigrants and said don't talk to those Black Americans because blah blah blah. But if they did say that, they're saying that because, again, if you are trying to control a population, you're going to tell them, don't mess with my lower elements. Don't mess with the radicals. Or don't mess with the people who say, oh, yeah, you hate me, blah, 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 blah. You're going to tell them that. Why wouldn't you tell them that? It's like if I'm coming to Tanzania and I start agitating with, let's say criminal elements, you think they're going to take that lightly? No. And until you realize that, a part of the state is to control the population, there's no sense in saying, there's no sense in trying to act like the state's not, that's not the state's objective. The state doesn't want you to do a Mau Mau revolution. That's it. The state, very few of us heard of the Haitian Revolution until we were in our damn 20s. Okay? Very few of us heard about, I didn't hear about Pan-Africanism, this idea that's so fundamental to our conversation. I haven't heard about Pan-Africanism until I was in college. Okay? And it wasn't from a class or anything. I just had to, I just happened to, come across one of those guys from the Congo, from Break the Silence. And he was like, yeah, there's a genocide going on in the Congo. And I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm in college, there's so like a lot of conscious people in America are conscious by happenstance. Whereas, like I tell you, when you get out of America, you go to, like I said, go to India, they have radical, revolutionary mainstream films. Even like China producing mainstream films about China's victory in Vietnam or some shit. You know what I mean? Like mainstream. It's a what they were able to do with Black Americans and infuse the patriotism. They don't want that to change. So they say, oh, we don't want nobody else talking to you. We don't want you watching any other movies but the ones we produce, where you are pretty much, you're killed first, or you in an interracial relationship, or basically you're gonna take an L, and it shows. And of course, people are gonna say, we do a bunch of bad shit in America because it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like if I'm saying, if I was a white boy, I'd probably do the same. That's it.
I appreciate that, Oni. Let's welcome in Kofi, the Black Critic, this week. First of all, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you? Peace to the panel. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for coming through. What are your thoughts here?
2 points here. So the question that you have there, FBA and ADOS, as far as like who they are and what they are, I really don't necessarily agree it's a psyop. We always had an element in America of what ADOS people is, and it goes back since to the plantation. So all the things that they're saying that is like the ignorance that they spout about Africans are this and Africans are not that, and but they started and stuff like that. Again, I grew up in this country as a tether, as people who claim to be FBA would say, and I've been in instances and places where they think I'm American because I don't, I didn't come to this country with a Guyanese accent, and they will say foul things against Caribbean people, right? They'll say something bad about a Jamaican, but I'm not Jamaican, but I know they think everyone from the Caribbean is Jamaican, right? So I know that is a shot against me, right? As far as, so you always had those people like, well, you're not like me, right? But you're like me, but you're not like me, right? So this is something even that when I was growing up, I believe. No one told me that, hey, to hate Africans or anything like that. I was just always raised as, hey, you're just a black Guyanese man, and you're black like everybody else. But, there was no real African connection, right? This is something that we all are guilty of. Some maybe not, some on a particular level, right? So when you see the same thing in ADOS and FBA, I said it's always been there. So anyone know who Smokey Robinson is, right? Not a big Smokey Robinson fan, but I kind of like Smokey Robinson until I saw, if you guys remember years back, they had a Deaf Poetry Jam, right? So Deaf Poetry Jam was something that was hosted by Mos Def, and you had people like Erykah Badu, Mos Def, Dave Chappelle, I think it was even one there, and they all said their little poem, right? And something went along the lines when Smokey Robinson was there, and he said something about, being black or something like that. That was his poem was about. And he says something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing here, saying, who cares about, I'm not African because they're not my people. They never came and got me anyway. So they ain't my people. And then people were like standing and applauding. By this time I had sense. I'm like, what the hell? And I was upset. Since anything Smokey Robinson I hear, I just disregard it, and I call him a coon, and people look at me like, why are you so upset? Right? But he meant that sincerely, and that's due to him being not knowing his own damn history. Even though he's a mulatto, that's a part of his history. He doesn't even know that a part has his own history. Again, Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney had a stand-up, I think it was one of his last stand-ups, and again, I'll be paraphrasing, and he said, well, hey, what kind of people? He said one thing about white people that will never do what black people that does not understand. If look what happened to us, right? Look what happened to white people. Something happened to white people, and their people are right there to stand by them. Look at us. We got black people got kidnapped, and they didn't send one nigga over here to America to come get us. And y'all just stayed your black asses over there. And everybody's dying with laughter, and I'm just like, that's not, and he, like, I understand it's satire, but you could actually see that he really meant what he said. And I keep hearing this all over again. So it's ADOS and FBA, they have always been around. It's just a segment of Black Americans and some Caribbean people who just don't know their own damn history after they got off the goddamn boat. Right? It is these tropes. And when people say that, I'm like, what, you think that Africans were living in harmony, and those the Dutch and the English and the Portuguese and the French, they just took people from West Africa and they just left the Africans? I'm like, what are you talking about? Africans was in a constant state of war. Anyone that reads Redestruction of the Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, Africa has been in a war since the dawn of humanity. Africa has never, ever, ever got a break. Never, ever got a breather to get its people back, to get its culture back, to rebuild. The moment they rebuild, is destroyed. But Black Americans, the segment of Black Americans that say, well, I'm FBA and you're not like me, we're different people. It's like, what? These are just idiots that are Black Americans. So to the Africans that will say things about Black Americans, again, the same thing will be as them. But I mean, I'm not trying to be biased or anything like that, but there is no African that has an acronym that just talks bad about Black Americans all day. There's no thing that exists. That does not exist, right? Will Africans say something extremely ignorant and arrogant about a Black American? Yes, they're out there. Hell yeah, they're out there, and I'll talk, against them. But we have to understand, when we talk about ADOS and FBA, we are not talking about the brightest tools, the sharpest tools in the shed. We are not. We're talking about people that don't even understand or know their own history. I've been on panels just having a regular conversation, and they'll say there's this thing going on with Trick Nasheed saying, "Oh, the reason why we're different from from a Caribbean or African that's here is that we don't run." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We don't run. You were in the South. The Underground Railroad was for you to run. You ran as far as Canada. You ran as far as, what are you talking about?" Right? And then they don't have nothing to say because they're parroting the same the same self-hateful thing that they have. And you got to understand, when someone's kicking you down all the time and kicking you down all the time, and you feel like, wow, I'm at the bottom of the barrel, there's nowhere for me to go, and someone says, well, hey, look, there's someone that you're better than. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? You're gonna kick that person out because that's the type of society that you live in. So I think that really needed to be said to keep the conversation on course. I mean, peace and blessings to Recorder Rashidi. He passed away. But when an African says that, I talk bad about them too. I work with an African that said disgusting things, and I had to check them. But I'll just end it right there and pass the mic.
I appreciate that, Cole. For you guys, after I get through everyone's initial thoughts, I hope you guys have a decent amount of crosstalk afterwards. This is the last topic for tonight, so keep in mind anything you heard so that you could discuss it at the end of everyone's run. To mix it up a little further, let me go with Buana here. Buana, what say you?
Yes. So let me start it like this. I would say this. Shout out to all my African brothers across the world, because on a consistent basis, all my brothers find themselves here on the Better Medicine podcast. No matter where you are in the world, you are free to come on to this panel and express your views freely, all over the world. And we've been doing this consistently for years now, Coco, I think. So I think that this is a beautiful thing. In terms of this nonsense of FBOA and all that, listen, man. Black Steel is my brother. That is my brother from America. So is Real Black Gentleman. So is Brother Bakari. So is Forecast. So is Anthony McFall. They my brothers from America. If they was to ever come to this country, their money is no good here. Within reason, guys. Within reason. But their money is no good here. They my brothers. By the way, Black Steel as well. They my brothers. So if I was to come to South Florida, if I come into Atlanta, if I come into Virginia, Forecast, if I come into all that country, my money should be no friggin' good, because they my brothers. I make concessions to them. They should make concessions to me as well. It's reciprocity. It's reciprocity. This is bullshit. You having plantation. Anthony McFall as well. Let me mention him as well. In New Orleans. You're talking about plantation politics. I don't discuss plantation politics. These are my brothers. Trigger Happy is in Ghana. That's my brother from friggin' Ghana and on the continent. Their money is no good here. It's no good here. What are we talking about? The only thing I would make concession for is my Caribbean brothers. Oni, Koku, and my brother from Guyana. I pay for them. I pay because they home and they know better. They know better. Kofi, they know better. But as far as my brothers who live in the West in Americas, they my brothers from a long time away, and in Africa. So their money is no good here. We exchange. We practice reciprocity. I have love for them. They have love for me. We even get into that dialogue. It's a ridiculous dialogue. I don't like to dialogue in these separatist debates and nonsensical ideas. By the way, my Haitian brother is my brother as well. He know better. He freaking know better. He know better. Erzuli, he know better. But if the question is whether FBA and ADOS is a psyop or not, it might be. Or when we come together collectively, and when we have the ability to sit down on the table and have a conversation with each other. We must have our own opinions on the matter. Outside of the greater plantation, or what the greater plantation may say, and suggest that how we should be acting in a particular way. Right now, they are sending Ruto, a Kenyan African person, to send his troops into Haiti right now. And I am wondering, because they sending Caribbean troops into Haiti as well, Caribbean troops from Jamaica and the Bahamas and etc., etc., etc. When the rubber actually meets the road, and when they have to interact with the people of Haiti itself, what's going to happen is the Bahamians are going to see their mothers in the Haitian mothers. The Caribbean people are going to see their family members. The people even in Kenya, well, as far as East Africa is, they're going to see their own people. So how is that going to play out on the ground? Even if they are taking the directives of the Western society and the Western world, how is that going to actually play out in the ground when the rubber meets the road? When they're going to have to see the actual people? Oh, I forgot to mention real black gentlemen as well. How is it going to actually play out when we see in the faces of our own mothers, and then the white world says that we should condemn them and we should treat them in a certain way? Give me a break. Give me a friggin' break. We're going to turn against them. Of course we will. Of course we will. Because these are our mothers. These are our ancestors. These are our family members. How could we treat them in a way like the colonialists treat them? How could we do that? How could we do that? We ain't going to do that. We ain't going to do that no days, no times like it. They could give us all the money in the world. But when the rubber meets the road, when our mamas cry and say, why are you doing this to us? We can turn against the Western powers. We can turn against the Western powers. Because at the end of the day, blood is thicker than water. And we have a blood bond with each other. Despite the fact that we want to call ourselves all these little ridiculous names, FBA, ADOS, African American, Bahamian, Trinidadian, Kenyan, we have a blood bond with each other. We have a more than a 400-year blood bond with each other that connects us with each other no matter what the situation may be. We have a blood bond. That's a fact. And I know some of our brothers and sisters may not like it, but we have a blood bond. We can't disassociate ourselves with one another. We can't tether ourselves with the white world, because the reality is we have a blood bond with our brothers and sisters all over the black world. No matter what the games we want to play with one another, it's pure games we want to play with one another. Pure games. We have a blood bond. It's not a liquor speech, honey. It's not a liquor speech. If you have a blood bond, it's a fact. It's a fact. We have a blood bond with one another. And I think that we shouldn't just disabuse ourselves with the blood bond we have with one another because of our so-called national affiliations, political affiliations, or monetary affiliations. We have a blood bond with one another that extend beyond the boundaries, a so-called nation, a so-called money, a so-called political affiliations. We have a blood bond with one another. And we can't get past that. We can't get past that. But I'll leave it there because only thing is this liquor talking. It's not liquor talking. But I'll leave it there. I'll leave it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, boy. I keep fucking up the mic here. I appreciate that. Let's go to Brother Bakari next. Brother Bakari, you've heard what a lot of people had to say. What say you?
Excuse me, ADOS and FBA, they SOPs and everything else. I've been figured out. I really didn't need no more evidence of who these people are and what they are and how they feel about and how they just truly feel about other black people. It's amazing, man. You get in that damn you get in them damn Twitter spaces and you see them and you hear them. Oh my goodness. It's amazing the things they say. they was on they did a live. This may have been like a month ago. Man, they were on Twitter about 4 hours. Man, you could just hear how they was talking about black people from other places. You know, and they're proud black Americans. Like I said, white people had an uncanny ability of making black people being loyal to their shit, to their stuff. Pardon my French, to their stuff. But the first problem I have to let you know what they were when they are so anxious to remove the name African from their name. We gonna define ourselves. American descendant of slavery is what we gonna call ourselves. Says who? Foundational Black American. But then I call myself African American because my ancestors come from Africa and shit. It was actually black people that thought of African American way before Jesse Jackson was ever even thought about. You can go back to the late 1700s. But Jesse Jackson called us dead in 1989. And it's just something good for them to say. They want to get away from being African. They want to get away from us. They want to tell you Pan-Africanism is dead. And they let it know how they actually feel. Just listen to them talk reparations. Well, they have their own claim. In the Caribbean, they have CARICOM. There's their justice claim. Well, we all have the same claim if we understood and we came together. The same people did it to all of us, right? So, and I've heard people say, well, Africans never came here to help us, right? So if somebody can come to your house and take your children, take your wife, your mama, take everything they want, black boot stomp you, and take your folks and take them halfway around the world, what make anybody think those people that have had their family taken gonna have the ability to get on ships and come over here and fight for you when they couldn't win, when they didn't win the war on their own land? You understand what I'm saying? But all of a sudden, they gonna come to America and fight for all of a sudden they gonna come to America and fight for black folks. Just like even with us saying, I want to go to Africa. That's my plan, 3 years to be completely gone away from here. But in all honesty, for them to expect, I've met some Africans, a couple of buddies of mine I had from Nigeria, was wondering why we never came, why y'all never came and saved us. Save you from what? How can we save you? Y'all was over here in this country. They was telling us about all the money you have. Who was telling you about all the money we have? And they were showing all these black big millionaires on TV. Who was showing you that? Dude, I don't know, but it's done to keep us bickering and going back and forth with one another. And I'm tired of bickering and going back and forth with one another. We gonna disagree on certain things. You understand what I'm saying? We gonna disagree, and that is okay to disagree. That is okay to disagree, because ain't nobody gonna think 100% alike. But if you're a real brother of mine, and you're a real brother or a real sister, just because we don't think 100% alike and we disagree on certain things, don't mean I don't have your back. But with these people, you can't have their back. And I know they don't have mine. So they've been that since their inception. You understand? Since their inception, they've been working for them other folks, even if whether they're getting a check or not. Don't know if they're getting a check, but they still working for them other folks. And then I get a mic.
I appreciate it, Bakari. Well said stuff. Last but not least, we'll get Black Steel. You heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you?
So lots of I think what I'm noticing, and I guess maybe I'm online too much, but I'm noticing a increase in just some of the insane comments from these people. So, like Kofi said, it's always kind of been, we've had our rivalries, we've said some things, we've had a little insults, but then at the same time, where I grew up at, they put us all together, right? So there wasn't Caribbean, a Jamaican side of town or a Bahamian side of town. When you came to this city, all Black people were lumped together, right? And we all kind of understood that no matter what our differences may be, we're still all one people. But
Black Hill. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry to cut you off. What city you're from? Because I'm from New York. I'm New York City. So
oh,
yeah,
I'm,
we're together.
I live in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so where I'm at, where all the Black people were together. I know it's different in New York. Everybody has different neighborhoods.
No, no, we all together here too, all on top of each other.
Yeah, we all talk to each other down here. So
In the bedroom too. So yeah.
exactly. I had the other day I had to break up, not a fight, but an argument between a student. One was Jamaican, one was Nigerian, and they wanted me to decide who was better, the Jamaicans or the Nigerians. I said, well, we got the better food, well, we got reggae. And so I'm like, listen, y'all two arguing, we all the same people. And they laughed, and then they went to the cafeteria together. But the violence and the things I'm hearing online, to the point to say, well, you're not really Black. You identify by your by your cultural group that you have in Africa, and you're not really Black. We're the only ones who are Black. I'm like, the stupidity of this, and it's so much now. I'm thinking to myself, there has to be a hand behind this, because I didn't grow up experiencing this much vitriol between African Americans and West Indians and Africans from the continent. My mom's best friend is from Liberia. My best friend growing up was from Jamaica. Right. So it was never this, well, you're not like us and we're different. And I'm thinking, what has come about to where you have different groups of Black people who are all under white domination, who are all oppressed, coming at each other instead of attacking our true enemy. And it was so bad. There was some attorney, I can't think of, Dennis Sterling, whatever the fuck his name was talking about suing the Africans who sold us into slavery. And I'm saying this with air quotes. Like, you're talking about suing the Africans, but not suing the Europeans who purchased the slaves, who brought the ships, who created the force, who supplied the weapons. You want to focus on them. But to me, it's like I'm feeling like there's more of a sinister hand behind it. We've always had sellouts. We understand Tariq Nasheed a sellout. We know Yvette Carnell working with some conservative think tank. So I see the hand behind it, and I see the increase, because it seems as though as times become tougher, as things get worse, instead of us drawing together, which historically has been a source of strength for us, for African people, it's our ability to adapt and create bonds between each other has enabled us to survive things that have driven other races of people into extinction. And I see that those bonds that have previously held us together are being, and again, like I said, it's online mostly. I don't really see it a lot in the community, but my concern is that element that has kept us together for so long is coming under attack. And our enemy is devious, and they're intelligent, and we got to learn to adapt to their attacks the way they adapt to our defenses. I'll leave it there.
All right, so that's everyone's initial take. Does anyone want to add any follow-up takes at this point?
Yes, I want to add follow-up things. I appreciate the consistency of all my brothers from around the world, from my American brothers to my Cape Verde brothers, with Jose Bronze in the chat, to my Jamaican brothers and Caribbean brothers, West Indian brothers. We need to stick together. This is important because we have shown the world consistency. We have been coming on this particular panel, the Better Medicine podcast, as men, airing our views and different particular issues and ideas about the world. Anyone who is listening anyone interested in listening to the things we would have said, reasonable things could have many different takeaways from the ideas that we would have presented to the world. Whether we drunk or whether we are not drunk, these things have some reasonable things to take away from the world and apply into your daily lives. And if you are listening, we are talking in terms of unity. Do we have issues? Do we have uh, individual issues in terms of our particular groups? Absolutely. But we are not afraid to sit down at the table and talk these things out as they should be talked out. But we still could accept the fact that yes, we may have differing opinions about the world, but we respect one another as men, as black men in particular, black men, as black men, because we are progressive black men and we are trying to forward our generations and make them to become productive and competitors in the rest of the world as well. Competitors in the rest of the world. So for whoever's listening to this particular dialogue, just listen and have particular takeaways from it. Have take. This is a shoot the breeze dialogue. Yes, we drink. Yes, we have kind of like a laissez-faire kind of atmosphere, but there are some reasonable takeaways from our dialogues that you could take away, and it can become very productive in terms of what you do in your daily life and daily activities. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I also want to also add that when again I this is a divisive topic, but when I say things about, hey, well, Southern African Americans like this, remember when I talk about FBA and ADUS, it's taking the conversation so much that people think it's about all Black Americans. That's who they think all Black Americans think like. But the people in my run-ins that claim to be FBA ADOS are idiots, and they're embarrassment to their own direct African Americans. So when I talk bad and I talk ill of FBA and ADOS, that's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about those people who want to make that claim. And again, in my family, my nieces, my nephews, they're Black American. My sister's husband, he's a Black American. My cousins, they marry Black American men and women, beautiful, fine men. So when I see African American people saying things like that, like, oh, these are obviously idiots. And again, being from New York City, before this whole FBA ADOS stuff kicks off, no one knows who was this, who was that, because you know why? Everyone thought the right way. We all Black. It don't matter. Oh, I kind of find out you're from Grenada. Okay, cool, whatever. We still cool. We still good. Again, it's I would like this things to be the way they were. And the only thing to get things back to the way they were is to call out the fallacies and all of the tropes and certain things that we kind of have to, that's been going around in our community that we kind of have to address, like we're not African, or we're different people from African, or Africans sold each other and things like that. So it's a lot of miseducation on the Caribbean side, the Black American side, and the African side. So YouTubers like this channel and other YouTubers like Wode Maya, this Ghanaian kid, he goes to Guyana, he goes next door to Suriname, he go to Jamaica, and he's meeting all these people, and he's joining them saying, oh wow, I didn't know Africans were like this. Oh wow, I didn't know like that. Wow, I'm here. I feel like I'm in Ghana when I go to Suriname. I feel like I'm in Ghana when I go to Ghana. I feel like I'm Ghana when I go to Trinidad. That's, I think, once us on both sides of the pond, once we really start linking up with each other, we'll be able to understand each other, and we'll not really understand each other, to realize that we are the same people. When you look at Richard Pryor, when Richard Pryor said the first time he went to Africa, right, he had no desire. He said he realized he's been there for a couple of days. He didn't use the word nigga. He said, you know why? Because I didn't see any. Once you go there and you experience your own people, that's not directly there. Like, yeah, they say they're my people, but I don't know. It changes you. Everyone that I know that go to Africa, they say it changes you. I mean, when Dr. Clark said he went to Africa, he went there and he said, yeah, people fought, people did all those things. And, he brought, black people from America over there. He says, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that they were using the N-word over there. But when they came over here, I didn't hear them, not one use that N-word. We have to go, what Dr. Clark says, we got to get back to our cultural incubator with who we are. We just need to link up, y'all. I'll just land my plane here.
Any other last thoughts from anyone on the topic?
Yeah, I mean, I just think you just have to be wary about trends, and I mean, we don't control these media. Black people, we predominantly don't control these media. You see a lot of trends, all that's manufactured, all that's just it's fake. If you know what I'm saying, back in the day when even in the 90s, you can imagine when we didn't have the internet, you had the phone. And you had to run around and tell everyone door to door what was going on and convey the message. I am so convinced that it's a veiled attempt at black affirmation. You know what I'm saying? That's the veil of it. You know what I'm saying? And to try to say that black people's they are trying to diminish your black cultural achievements. You know what I'm saying? Black people do something in this country, you know what I'm saying, culturally, you know what I'm saying, whatever. Even economically, mathematically, you know what I'm saying, whatever, you know what I'm saying? That does not disregard everything else. You know what I'm saying? It's the idea like to kind of beside what Kofi's saying, like making America a fake cultural incubator for black people here, and to say that the genesis of black people is in America, and that our history began, you know what I'm saying, on Plymouth Rock, as it were. And so, like, I know it's disgusting. People even this idea that the slave trade even happened, and trying to reason with people about the boats and the nature of boats. Boat is precious material. People will take that boat and break it down and turn it into a barn quick, fast, in a hurry. That's where the boats went. You know what I'm saying? Next question. And so, like, it's things where it's like you gotta like really like think and then what and make it make sense for the time period. You know what I'm saying? My thing is I know it's strictly online because I don't hear people in real life talking FBA or ADOS at all. Zero, right? So I know that it's off. I guess black people, the best thing we can do is just reduce it down and boil it down, you know what I'm saying? And don't let it get bigger than what it can be. I just reduce it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like some, like, you know what I'm saying? Like some oil or some wine in a skillet. Just reduce it down to the basics and just say, okay, black people, and just like use it as a tool, as like a repolishing towards like how we going to like present ourselves again. I know it's bullshit, right? I know it's bullshit, but I know how to like go at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have no use of like calling myself like FBA as like as a predominant thing. I know that that's foolishness. The sentiment behind it, I see where it's coming from. I just intercept it, you know what I'm saying? Kind of put a little deflection on it. If I can move it 1 degree, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I can prevent a collision of some sort. I'm gonna pass the mic.
I appreciate everyone who contributed tonight. Before you guys leave, please give a shout out, something positive you saw during the week in the African world, or something positive that happened in your sphere of the universe. Let's start with Real Black Gentleman. What would you like to shout out this week?
I don't know. I guess I worked hard this week, so I might just have to shout out myself. You know what I'm saying? I gotta deal with a lot of people, and it's like herding cats with doing what I do, and a lot of personalities trying to, set everyone straight. So, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even take a lunch just the other day. I worked, I think, 13 hours the other day straight. So I'm gonna give myself a shout out.
Shout out to Real Black Gentleman. Black Seal, what would you like to shout out this week?
I just want to shout out the panel. Great show tonight. Great show every night. Enjoy talking to everybody and sharing our ideas, even if we don't agree. I'm glad we all keep it respectful, and look forward to next week's show.
Appreciate it, Black Steel. Thanks for coming through. Bakari, what would you like to shout out this week?
I want to shout out everybody on the panel, especially Black Steel, man. Black Steel came at me tonight. He said some things that I feel I might even deserve, but everything I done said to everybody on this damn panel, I'm like, damn, he done called me stupid and ignorant, and I know I done said that worse. Said worse thing to people on this panel.
I
But it didn't bother me. No, don't apologize, bro. Don't apologize. I'm cool. That's what I'm saying.
Listen, you come my way, man. Dinner's on me. Your money's no good here. You come out here. Your money's no good.
Look, Black Steel, everybody else on the panel been waiting to say something. But look, I done said so much. Black Steel said something. It was funny. It don't bother me. I'm cool. I thought it was funny. Actually, I'm like, okay, I guess it's my turn. But other than that, man, the panel, everything was good. It was a good live. I appreciate everything. I'm gonna give RBG a shout out since he gave a shout out to himself. And on that note, man, peace and love.
Yeah, sir. Appreciate you. Brother Bakari. Kofi, would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, I would like to pretty much shout out my family and my mother. You know, when you're a child, you don't understand why your parents do and say certain things. And then when you get old, you realize what they were doing, what they did, and they pretty much did it for the better. So I would like to, thank the ancestors and thank my mother for who she is and what she is and how she raised me.
Thank you for that, Kofi. Last but not least, let's have from Buana. Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, first let me say to Oni that this is not an alcoholic run, because he's thinking this is an alcoholic run. It's not an alcoholic run. First, let me say that shout out to my African American brothers, my Western. I love my my African American brothers is the best of the best. I love them. I absolutely love them. All of them. All of them. I understand that they're in a difficult situation. And if they could be in a better situation, they would be in tomorrow. They my brothers. They are my fucking West African brothers. Like I say, their money is no good here. If they come to this country. Shout out to my Caribbean brothers. All my Caribbean, Oni, Kofi, Koku, you know what it is? All of them. All of them. These people trying to separate our groups, our West African groups, they are ridiculous. They are ridiculous. We are brothers by blood. We write it in the blood. We are brothers. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And if people come to you and try to separate us and try to pretend as if we are not brothers with each other, they are liars. We are brothers. Absolute brothers. And I would never take that away. Never, ever. Shout out to also my brothers who don't speak English. My Spanish speaking brothers and French speaking brothers. Urzuli them is my brothers too, Urzuli them is my good brothers from Haiti too. And on the Dominican Republic. They drop us off at different places and try to divide us. But all of us still brothers by blood. Make no mistake about it. No, and don't let these devils create divisions among us, because we are absolute brothers with one another. Don't let the devils cause division with us. They call it divide and conquer back in the day. Don't let the devils create these divisions among us. One speaks English, one speaks Spanish, one speaks French. All us come from West Africa, brother. Don't buy into the hype. It's all hype. We are absolute brothers with one another. In culture. They try to take that away, to try to distinguish us from one another. But the reality is that we are absolute blood brothers with each other. Absolute brother. We disagree all the time. We have beefs all the time. We cuss each other out all the time. But make no mistake about it, we are blood brothers. Blood brothers. Who else Who else is going to take up for us if it's not us? You think the Jews are going to take up for us? You think the Arabs and the Chinese are going to take up for us? Absolutely not, brother. Absolutely not. At the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, we have to take up for one another. Despite the fact that we disagree from time to time, despite the fact that we have beef from time to time, we are absolute brothers with each other. Absolute. Absolute. And when I say that, I mean 100%. I mean 100%. So don't let the devils trick us into believing that we have separation with one another. Don't let the devils believe it. Even Trigger Happy from West Africa as well. He's our blood brother as well. He's our blood brother as well. So don't let them play these little ridiculous games with each other. I respect humanitarianism. I respect humanity. I respect fairness in the world. But at the end of the day, and this may seem crass, but at the end of the day, I can look at my brother before I look at any other groups of people. I can look at Black Steel. I can look at Kofi. I can look at all my I can look at the black world before I look at any other world that exists. First and foremost, they can call me all manner of names. They call me bigot. They can call me racist. They can call me all manner of names. But of course, I can care about my people who look just like me. Their mothers look like me. Their grandmothers look like me. They are me. They are me. Let's not play these little ridiculous games. At the end of the day, I like I said, I respect humanitarianism. I respect humanity, but the world, I have to work with it and how the world works. I have to work with it and how the world works. And the world works with, we are in a competition with one another, and I have to see and ensure that my brothers and sisters around the world are cared for and are safe and are taken care of first and foremost. Just like any other group. Just like any other group. You know? But like I said, I'll leave it there. And blessings to the brothers. By the way, don't forget Matron. Matron is doing a yeoman's job in what she is doing in educating the young people and training them and informing them about the world that's beyond them. And I think that we should be contributory towards her efforts and what she is actually doing. You know, but I'll leave it there, Koku. Thank you for the time, and I'll leave it there, brother.
All right, I appreciate you, Buana. I appreciate everyone who participated tonight, either on the panel or in the chat. Shout out to all of you guys. We should be back next week, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description. When you join the Discord, find the Shoot the Breeze channel. You can post any topic you want us to discuss. Post it on the Discord. Post a prompt and a link to like a video or an article. That can be featured on the show as well. I'll see you guys next week. I hope you guys be good during the week. Until next time, peace.
Peace.
Peace, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.